Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Irrelevant Podcast. I'm here once again with Jason, and today we are going to talk about Cuban music.
Very spicy.
Is spicy, Mike? So are the cigars, the coffee. Cuba's really cool. I like Cuba,
Have
and
you
I wanted to
even
show
ever
what's
had a
up,
cigar?
like a Cuban one.
Or any in general?
I've had one. I don't know what it like if it was Cuban or not, but
I wouldn't know,
I
but
mean,
everybody just jizzes all over them, so.
have you had cigars like regular ones?
No, I have never smoked a cigar.
They're fine. I mean, I think they're kind of overrated, like most tobacco and smoking is. But
Well, no, you don't inhale them, you just kind of hold it in your mouth and then blow it out or something.
yeah, and you kind of like suck on like the tobacco that's like in the thing, and like you just get the nicotine from that.
Yeah.
Which some people they just like it better. Um, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like I was like, this is kind of interesting, but that was it.
Yeah, I mean I've had Cuban coffee and I don't like coffee in general, so having the blackest and strongest version of it was not enjoyable.
I can imagine, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else does Cuba have besides what we're gonna talk about now? Obviously their architecture is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything that was colonized by the Spanish or the Portuguese or the French is gonna have gorgeous, colorful, like popping colors architecture.
I'm curious how modernized they've gotten, like their cars or I guess their infrastructure, or just the products that they can have now that there's no embargo. I'm curious to know how like adaptive to Western culture they are.
I mean, I can't imagine that much.
No.
Not really. I mean, even if you go to like, even where I was in Brazil, a lot of the houses still look very Portuguese colonial, and like obviously like they've updated it in the sense that like there's plumbing and that there's electricity and all that stuff. Like the houses look the same. It's like the same style. Um, I can't imagine like But are you talking about like the actual buildings and stuff like that when you mean infrastructure and
Not
all
really
that
the
stuff?
buildings. I guess I more mean like cars, cell phones, just
Well,
regular
that I
products you
don't
can find in the
know.
grocery store.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine people have phones, but
Yeah.
the cars, I wouldn't know. All I
Yeah.
know is that it's a meme that they had retro cars because they weren't allowed to get things after that.
A lot of them look really cool.
They do,
People
yeah.
collect them now.
Oh yeah, they look really cool. Yeah. Um. Oh, they also have Fidel Castro. That's another thing they exported.
He did.
They exported Fidel Castro, and I know Che Guevara was originally Argentine, but he did a lot of his stuff in Cuba.
It's always interesting to me, and I don't really want to go much further because I don't really know much about Che Guevara, but I know that he had a bunch of, I don't know, problematic things to say. But a lot of people like to idolize him for some reason. I guess,
Um, Travis had quite a bit to say about Che Guevara.
yeah.
We
The only thing I know is obviously, I mean, these people are of the times, but obviously all the all the stuff about race and sexuality they probably weren't too progressive on, more than just pushing an ideology down people's throats.
I know it's funny to see that all these people that are like labeled as left wing that like if you go see their comments they were like no we need to burn gay people and all that stuff. It's like oh whoa that doesn't sound left wing.
Yeah, it's a very very confusing snake which they bite themselves constantly.
Right, because that just goes to show how much politics are different in other countries.
Well, I think politics is more mandatory in a lot of other countries than it is here. I think people just choose to be angry and choose to go through all this bullshit by themselves. Like it doesn't, like, for the most part, really affect their lives. Where in
Yes,
other
but
countries, like, you pretty much have to fight the government or you're gonna be imprisoned or dead.
sure, but I'm just mean in the sense that like not every mainstream left wing politician is going to be like, you know, for certain issues that they would be in like other countries. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, that's just kind of what it is.
Oh, goddamn politics.
Fuck, dude.
So I'm assuming. Okay, so this compilation that you had me listen to.
Oh yes.
Um,
So what I had, sorry. So for anyone who doesn't know, and I'll tell you this so that anyone, and I'll post it on my Snapchat before, so that if anyone wants to listen to it, they can like listen in with us and then hear our thoughts and comments. It is called Hecho en Cuba, Volume One. It is a compilation of various artists from the Buena Vista Social Club, which was a club in Havana, I think, in Havana, Cuba. They might have done some stuff in America. I'm not entirely sure, but all I know is that um, not this compilation I recommended to Jason, but they made one self-titled album, which was recorded over like 10 days in Havana. It was really cool, and it
oh
has a
wow, it
lot
was
of the
really
same
that short.
songs. Oh yeah, it has a lot of the same songs. I don't know about this compilation, just because this is like a bunch of different. I don't know if they were all recorded necessarily at the same time. I think they might just be from various different, you know, times and places, and they're like, "Yep, let's just put
I
this
was,
all together."
yeah, I was about to say because on some of the songs I noticed that they were remastered. So
Right. But yeah, so it consists of artists like Ibrahim Ferrer, uh, Ruben Gonzalez, Compay Segundo, Eliades Ochoa. These are all really, really famous Cuban artists.
when was this?
Yeah.
I mean, when were the most of the Jesus Christ? When were the majority of these songs recorded, or when were these guys prominent?
I can imagine. I know these songs were made in like the 50s. I can imagine. Let me see.
Oh wow, it's
Like,
that old.
oh yeah, this stuff is old school Cuban, dude.
Crazy.
Let me see. This was made like, okay, so the Buena Vista Social Club was founded in 1996, but um, it was a group of people playing music from the 40s and 50s. Okay, that's what it says.
Yeah, so these have
So
all. Are you sure they're that old?
that's what it says. These
Crazy.
songs are like these are old school 50s Cuban jazz songs.
Man, they must have been totally remastered from the fucking. Like, I don't know. I mean, obviously the instruments, there's no way those have been recorded in the 50s, but maybe the vocals.
Oh
But the.
no, no, the recordings were done much later, like I said, but
Oh,
the
the actual
song,
songs. Okay, I was about to say, I was like,
yeah,
there's no fucking way those songs are from the 50s,
you know,
even if they've been
no,
remastered.
no, these sound quite not like 2022, but they sound newer than the 50s. But no,
Yeah.
these
Okay, sorry,
songs
I
were
missed
originally
that.
written in the 50s. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because I was like not sure if you understood, but
Okay.
um, so yeah, what did you think of Hecho en Cuba, Volume One?
Um, let me see. I think. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. I think this one is probably one that is like the toughest to just sit and listen to, just like in a room by myself. You know what I mean? I feel like this is
Really?
where I have to like listen with people, or like when we were listening to it earlier in the car today, or like if we're going out dancing. But like for some reason, this one is a hard listen for me to just sit down and just like focus on it. I don't know why.
For
Um,
some of the songs, I can see what you're saying, but for some of them, I just can't help but just listen to it and just start jamming and like start tapping my feet and like just move my head. They're
yeah,
so
and
catchy. Some of these
they are
songs.
catchy, and I think the problem is like it's not meant to be sit and analyze. It's just meant to be sit and relaxing while doing something else, or just like you're just getting into the rhythm with it, or you're moving with it. It's meant to just like get lost and like get into the feeling of it. It's not meant to just sit there and listen to, because a lot of it is really repetitive. So it's like it feels like sometimes I was just listening to a lot of loops of something minus the vocals. Um, so I think like when you're sitting down and just focusing on it, it gets a little bit tedious. But the songs that stood out to me the most, I think, because there was a lot of different types of songs. It wasn't just like the standard salsa beat, fast tempo, ay 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 shit. So,
Right.
um, so
I
I
was
think
hoping you would appreciate that.
the one that I really liked, and I Jesus, I swear, keep stuttering. I like when some jazz pianists do it, and I don't like it when others do it. I feel like it depends on the person if they can do it tastefully or skillfully. The Fabiando by Ruben Gonzalez, I really, really liked the freeform piano melodies that were present throughout the song. Um, when I was listening to it, I liked it because it reminds me of something they would put in like a Wii game or something.
Yeah, I was not expecting that one to be. I thought that was going to be one of the songs that you thought was more boring.
I think it's because it was the one that like kind of branched out from all the other ones. Really, like most of them kind of followed a similar formula. This one kind of branched out. Like I said, it was more freeform, so I could pay attention to the melody on the piano more. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's like I said, it just gives me more stuff to focus on than just because like I don't speak Spanish or know the words or can have any sort of revelation to that. So I just have to go based off of how everything sounds. And the music is designed for you to like vibe to or dance to or just have a good time to. So that's why I said I think it's just difficult for me just to sit and listen to it. Um, but so that
Let
was
me
one that stuck
check.
out.
Let me
And
check.
then
Hold on. I don't want to. I want to make sure I'm not confusing Fabiando and Pahum Palmar. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. That's the. Okay. That's what I thought it was. Sorry.
why do you think I think
Can,
that wouldn't be boring?
I don't know. Just because it. I don't know. I just thought because it because it didn't have like words necessarily, or it wasn't in like those cool like atmospheric sounding minor keys, you wouldn't have been attracted to it as much.
Well, the piano melody was kind of in a minor, like it was like I said, it was like more freeform jazz. Like he kind of just did what he wanted, which was interesting. Like I said, I like it sometimes when people do that, and sometimes it's a little bit over the
Wait,
top. But
well, you said I don't really think it was necessarily in a minor key. It was just kind of like you said, more freeform. So there wasn't
yeah,
really in any key. It was just
yeah, that's what I
kind
meant
of
to
just
say. It was
playing.
yeah,
Yeah,
but like usually. I think like when you can like not obviously it's not in like a minor key, but you can kind of give it you feel a similar emotion because since it's a little bit just dissonant, like it automatically gives you that sort of feeling as opposed to
yeah,
like something. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of different emotions you can kind of tag along to it, um, but like I said, I like hearing interesting things, and that's why I like just like when you hear something that's completely different to the rest of them. I think it just, I mean, obviously it stands out more, but I think, like I said, it gives me something more to focus on. The other one that was nice was the Que Leo Company Andres by
that one's good.
that one was awesome. Like I said, I like
Yeah,
the classical guitar mixture in there. I like when people do the little finger picked leads over top, and especially because they sound real. It doesn't sound like digital playing or something that's been a take that's been done over and over again to be perfect. So I like when guitar players actually just record a thing and then it's just all the way through. There's no cutting and pasting. So it's always really fun. And the thing I liked about this one is like the singing in unison that they would do and the clapping. That was also really catchy.
yeah. Plus, like you just said, that opening guitar riff was really really good,
Yeah,
and how it just led into the song.
yeah. So that yeah, exactly. The guitar melodies and riffs that they were doing was really really nice. I think starting out like the first two tracks. Let me pull up my notes here.
I
Um,
love the first two tracks. I especially the second one, I Candela.
yeah,
That one, I am tapping my feet, just like shaking my head. I am so into that song.
yeah. That one was I think I out of the two. So there's that one. Then the first one was De Partes de Mi. Um,
Yes.
that one I think I liked a little bit more because that one kind of like when I think of like, well, I mean now after listening to it, like salsa music or specifically now Cuban salsa music, like I feel like that's like the poster child of what it would be. Or if I was out somewhere, that I feel like that's the song that I would hear. Is that a really popular song? Company
Yeah, like
Segundo
anything by like Compay Segundo,
or Compoy, not Company. Company Segundo.
Second Company. Well, so all these songs are really famous, but the ones that are like really well known are that one's pretty well known. I think I Candela's known a little bit more. The big one I know is Chan Chan or Chan Chan.
Yeah,
Did you like that one?
I did. I think that one it like I said, all these songs are catchy, but I didn't feel like it was like catchy in a specific way where I would remember it. And I think that's some. I mean, I don't know if I chalk that down to because I don't speak the language, so it's like I don't remember the words that they're saying. So it's also why it wouldn't stick in my head. But like I feel like it's really catchy
Yeah.
melodies, but like if I'm gonna wake up and forget them tomorrow. Um,
Listen to it again.
that's
Because
true. I'm gonna listen
I
to it
mean,
again.
I've right. Because I mean, I've given this multiple listens, and most of the songs resonate with me. Other than like a few, but like I was saying with I Candela, the that like twangy guitar solo in the later part of the song mixed with like that the fast beat persisting is just so well done.
Yeah.
And it has those really cool like just pentatonic harmonics which sound really good.
Yeah, and this shit is not easy to do. So that's why I
I can
always like
imagine, yeah.
listening to it. I like listening to difficult things that I can't play. The next one was one I really liked a lot. Was Bajo un Palmer by
Yeah.
Omar Portiondo y Pio Leva. Leva.
That's Omara Portuando and Pio Levia.
So Omara, I'm guessing, is the female, and then Pio's the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like this one a lot. I like like I said, I don't listen to too much jazz, but like jazz duets are really cool. So I like how his voice sounds super rich, and it's like one of those voices it's been well aged and well taken care of. And then also the smooth jazz piano in the background. That one, it's like any classy movie or spy movie or something where they're having like some important scene, is always gonna have that kind of piano in the background. I like for some reason I like they had like some cowbell esque kind of thing that they were hitting on the parts, and like I like the rhythm that they were like hitting the. It reminds me of like in metal when the drummer's hitting the crash cymbal or the China cymbal to just kind of make everybody go crazy, but it's more of like a gets you pumped. So they're hitting it on the.
Yeah, getting everyone wanting to
Yeah.
dance. Yeah.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to ask you is like their voices mix together very well, or that they've been singing together for a long time. Are they like, married or related or anything like that?
I don't know because I don't know too much about the individual artists themselves.
Hmm.
I just know like their music, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really know too much about their lives outside of it.
Well, they mix together really well, so that one was really enjoyable to listen to.
They do. I liked their other track a little bit better. Quizás, quizás, quizás.
Yeah.
I thought that one was like I love those trumpet flares
What did you
later in
like
the
that one
song.
more?
I mean that for that reason I just said, but also I don't know, like I just think that I don't like it that much more. Like they're both really good songs, but their other one, Quizás, 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 just it sticks with me more. Like I said, just mainly just for the use of the trumpets, and I just
Mm.
think it's more entertaining.
Yeah.
Um, the only song that I don't really like is the seventh track,
That's what is that
La
one?
Chica del Granizado. That's the Ferrer track.
Yeah, so that one I like how the bass line starts out, and it's like that it's something that I would really love to play. Like if I was to, someone asked me to cover a song, like that's the one I would do on bass. But I think the problem with it is like the vocals are really disjointed in that one, except for the
Yeah,
hooks. Like those are solid, but like when they're doing the freeform singing, it felt really out of time and just out of place.
yeah, that's why I think it's like I think it's easily. Oh shit. I think it's easily the worst song on the album.
Why is it the worst song?
Just because, like, it's the least entertaining. I don't like the melody really.
Mm,
Um, it's not something I would say is annoying. It just doesn't. It doesn't make me go like, "Ooh, I love that." That's like sounds really nice.
yeah.
Which like my favorite track on the entire like compilation is the last one. I think that track is just phenomenal. I love the guitars, how they're played, the note selection, and like the actual beat for like the chorus. And I love what he's saying and how he just mentions Cuba. I think it's so cool.
Are you
And
talking
like I
about
was saying,
Pobre Corazon?
yes, I am.
Yeah, yeah, those guys seem to be they seem to be the most professional out of the bunch, I should say, or the ones that are probably the more famous one.
Un País Segundo.
Yeah,
I mean, all these people are pretty famous. I don't know who is the most
I
famous,
was about to say
but
there's got to be a top dog or a couple of top dogs, and those ones seem to be at least like when you like go to a place or a dance class that plays salsa music, Cubans like that's probably what they would play.
oh yeah, I mean, all these people are household names like Ibrahim Ferrer, uh, Ruben Gonzalez. People know.
So it's safe to assume that most of these people are dead.
Um, No, I don't think so because this was founded in the 90s.
Oh, I thought you said this was back in the 50s. Oh, I keep
No,
forgetting it's the song. Sorry.
yeah, no, these songs were written in the 50s and then they
Oh,
made this club to commemorate their Cuban like musical culture.
whew, it's been a day, man. Cool. Okay. I
I
will
see.
not forget that.
But
um,
like I was saying, let me see. Um Ibrahim Ferrer died in 2005. Compay Segundo died in 2003.
was that one guy
So,
or was that a couple? Like, was it just a? I thought it was just a group.
um no, it's just his like what it's like a stage name.
Okay, so it's one guy.
Yeah, I thought so too, but yeah, it's just one guy. His name is Máximo Francisco Repilado Muñoz.
I I see why he changed his name.
Yeah, I can see too. But like I was saying with the Pobre Corazon, um the fact that I do understand like what they're saying, I appreciate this music in a different way that you would. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say like in a better way than you do, but like
Well,
I
no, it would be a better way because like if I understood what it was, I feel like I would. I mean, not necessarily all the time. There's a lot of lyrics where I could give a fuck about, but just at least so I can get more reference. But what is that one about?
it's just about I mean, I know the chorus is going like where you going, precious and cute Cuban lady. Like um like just bring me that like smile I remember, stuff like that.
I don't know what
So
it is, but like I don't. I mean, obviously it's the most used trope in music, but just like I don't like when I listen to songs just talking about like women, I don't give a fuck anymore.
I mean, I think
I
like
don't know why.
For Spanish, it just makes like more sense. I guess I don't know. It just sounds because I mean
Porque
they are romance
romantico.
languages, so
The what?
yeah, romantico. Because they are romance languages, so they do need to fulfill that promise in some sense.
No,
Like you
I
need to
know.
have that like Antonio Banderas, like you know.
Well, it's like just I mean, you got to think of the audience that they're playing to. It's like you're playing to people that are out fun or out dancing, having fun, and potentially meeting people. So I mean, obviously that's going to be what it is. Um,
Right.
I
But
don't
you
know.
know, the song is about like this guy's weeping heart and how like you want like where are you going?
Where you been?
¿Dónde vas,
Shuffle this
preciosa y
way, girl, not
linda
that way.
cubana? Tráemela,
Um,
sonrisa de los palmares.
so
Yeah,
that was your favorite track on or on the whole
oh yeah,
compilation.
oh yeah. It's my favorite melody. It's my favorite instrumentation. It's like my favorite beat. I love everything about it. Second to that is probably I Candela.
I can.
Like when he just starts singing, like he's just going off. and
Wait, what track
I
number
can.
is?
That's number two.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like, what the fuck?
Like in the beginning where the piano starts going off, and then like the piano starts in, and then the horns just start flaring. I'm like, yeah, they know what they're doing. Like there's kind of like in music sometimes there can just be like winks to the listeners, like we know what we're doing. Enjoy this.
Yeah.
Like that, or especially like in tracks like number 8. El Cuarto de Tula, when like he just rolls his R's like so hard.
Yeah, it's a total fan service. It's
Yeah,
exaggeration.
like en el barrio la cachinga se forma. I'm just like, yes.
Something to please the Americans when you talk to them.
Yeah, dude, that's
Um,
what I'm saying. Like, I'm just picturing Joey Diaz like just jamming the fuck out of this, dude.
he's just smoking on the windowsill listening to it so everybody can hear him.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
I love Joey. Joey's so cool.
yeah, I think overall, like I said, it's one of those ones where I have to I know I've said that for a lot of the Latin music that you've recommended to me, but
It
I
all
think it's
sounds the same.
no, it doesn't all sound the same. But I think, like I
I
said,
know.
I can't sit down and listen to it. I have to do something or dance to it or like be with somebody or dance with somebody. Like I can't just sit and listen to it on my own. I think because there's music like, and that's not just subjective to this genre. Like there's a lot of music that I really love, and like for some reason I just don't like listening to it by myself. I have to listen to it with people. I don't know if you get like that with music.
Certain things like certain I'm trying to think of certain genres specifically. There has to be. certain kinds of music where I need to listen to it with someone.
Yeah.
Certain like country folk songs that my mom likes, I wouldn't necessarily listen to those by myself. I mean, I could and I would enjoy it, like stuff like John Denver. He's very good, but it's enhanced when I listen to it like with my mom or something like that.
Especially if it's country road, you gotta fucking sing that with your homies.
Oh yeah, before I that's the thing because I like that song like before it was a meme, but of course once something becomes a meme, you can't like it unironically,
Yeah, I know.
which is just annoying. And I'm like I remember when the when the Halo theme became a meme, and I'm like, that's like a genuinely good composition.
I was about to say that's really close to what you like to listen to.
That is, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I guess I also really like listening to music that, like, if I don't like a song but I'm like in the car or with somebody that does like that song, like it's a lot more enjoyable for me. I don't know if it's just because like it's just the energy of the moment and I like seeing people actually happy or enjoying something, so it makes me enjoy the thing I'm listening to even if I don't like it. I get like
Did you
that
get
too.
that with me on our car ride today? Like when
No,
we were listening to this kind of music?
I like listening to the music, but like I said, it's difficult for me to sit down and like listen to it and like take
No,
notes like I'm
but
analyzing it. But like, yeah, I like it's enjoyable to listen to. I do like
but
it.
what, no, but what I was asking was like, was it enhanced with me going like, oh, I love this song and stuff like that?
Yeah, it does. And
Okay.
I'm like that in all facets. Whether it's like a movie, or an activity, or you're out, like like it just really fucks the mood up if somebody's being bitchy or just not enjoying something. Like it really does ruin it. So, but it's the opposite effect for me. Like I said, it makes me enjoy things more when people are actually enjoying it themselves.
Yeah, so you would just say at the end of the day, this compilation and a lot of music, like in this vein, like Latin kind of stuff, is just kind of vibe music
Yeah,
and
and
not necessarily your cup of tea, which
well,
is
no, like I
completely
said,
fine.
I can like if I'm in the mood or like if like I can't
Well,
just
it's not your favorite thing that you're like because like you can listen to metal obviously in multiple different contexts and
yeah.
you still enjoy it on like an analytical level. You can enjoy it like just on like a vibe level. You can enjoy it on like a I'm doing something else while I'm listening to this and just all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like, let me rephrase. So like I can sit down and listen to it and just like zone out, or like I said, if I'm just vibing to it. But like just it, my only thing is I think it's just difficult for me to sit down and like listen to it in this context for a podcast to like give my thoughts and notes specifically of like the intricacies of the vocals and the percussion and the guitar and the trumpets and the piano and all that shit. I think that's the more. I think it takes me out of just enjoying listening to it because it's like I'm trying to focus on specific aspects and a lot of it just kind of comes up like it's the same, but it's something that I wouldn't like really even care about because I like listening to it if I wasn't paying attention. If that makes sense.
So you're saying when you listen to this in an analytical way, it kind of just makes it worse almost.
Yeah, it kind of takes me out of it. Like it makes
I
it
see.
because like they're not long songs, but sometimes it feels like it's a long song, like 2.5 minutes, and I'm trying to focus on like what's coming next. But what's coming next is the same thing. So like I just give like, oh, do I like this sound going on right now? And if I don't, then it's gonna be the whole song kind of thing.
I get you.
Um,
Um, I mean, I can listen to this and I can really see why Cubans are proud of being Cuban.
no, it is really good, and I think
Yeah.
it like I said, and even like in just to back me up, even in the music, like I said, it's all about meeting that girl or just heartbreak or fucking longing for whatever connection, right? So like it's meant to be shared with somebody else. It's not meant for you to sit down and listen to it unless you like went through a breakup and you're sad and you're listening to it. You know what I mean? Like it's meant to be shared with other people. It's not meant for you just to sit in a room and listen to.
Yeah, like a lot of the songs are like that, but then like Chan Chan is kind of more like let me see cuz like I forget the lyrics like off the top of my head, but it's like um yeah, no, it's talking about babies again and women. Um yeah, but like songs like El Cuarto de Tula and Ay Candela, those are about like candles that went off and burned buildings down. Like I don't know, like in remember in the beginning of uh, Cuarto de Tula when he mentions the bomberos, that means
Yeah.
like the firemen.
Okay.
Yeah, and I Candela is like when he goes like Like me quemo, me quemo, me quemo. That means like I burn myself.
Local Cuban
So
folklore, buildings being burned by candles.
yeah, it's weird. I don't know why it's that they're talking about, and we're making like a fun dance song about it. But it's interesting what to see like in other countries like popular music like what they talk about. You know.
Well, I mean, I think it just chalks it down to the specific artists and genres because obviously the music that all the popular the music that gets more critical acclaim than the more underground artists is going to be a lot different. Obviously, I mean it just goes to show the not I'm not meaning this in a negative way, but more surface level, easy to digest things become more popular and easier to just go out to, and more of the critical stuff and the more analytical stuff just kind of gets on the underground, and that's just even in, like in the message of the words too.
Yeah. Um, but still, I still really love this music. I think you should give it a few more listens, because like certain songs, like I mentioned, "Pobre Corazón," that one just resonates with me.
Yeah, I think the one that I like the most, and I don't know if it's because it's just one that's more familiar, was the the Bajo and Palmer. The duet one was really nice, and I think that was the
I
one that I
see.
could sit and listen to, and I didn't feel like I was analyzing it. Like I can just take it in and then give my thoughts on it because there's like stuff going on, and I think
Mm.
they should. I think more Cuban musicians should do duets like that. Not necessarily like in that jazzy style, but like having like a back and forth really fast with the rest of it would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Where would you rank this in terms of my recommendations that I've given to you?
Um I'm trying to think. Like like compared to all the
Mhm.
other things or just like on its own like
Well, I'll ask you this: do you like it better or worse than the Mark Anthony album?
I think I like this better than the Mark Anthony one because the
Okay.
Mark Anthony one I just don't feel like it was well constructed. Like I like after like listening to a couple different types of genres or types of like Latin music, I think that I'm starting to get like a sort of representation, and I know that Mark Anthony is more of a pop star, right, than he is an actual like Latin musician, I should say.
Right, and his music, I mean, I still really like his music, especially Libre, the album I recommended to you.
Hmm.
That one also resonated with me more over time.
Yeah,
And still, like a lot of the songs I listen to, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good.
yeah,
But it is like a very different style because his is more like ballady, and it's more like emotional and stuff like that. And it's
yeah,
also like you could just tell like the beats and stuff like that. They're just more like basic
yeah. And so I
in
think
terms of
I
what our ears are like accustomed to hearing. Whereas like in this stuff, you hear a lot of more of those just like bongos and the drums and like those beats that like sound kind of exotic to us, which you wouldn't get that necessarily in the Mark Anthony stuff.
yeah, and I mean it's not like it's super unpalatable or super exotic to where they're like so different from the two. I feel like they're
Oh
still of a
no,
similar
you can
vein.
still tell. Yeah, you can still tell they're both like
Yeah,
Latin music.
but I like this
Uh,
better than the Mark Anthony one, and I'm blanking. What was the one? Was it Argentinian? The classical guitar
yeah,
player. What was his name again?
Roberto Lara.
Yeah, that one. So I liked the guitar stuff obviously a lot better, and it was more interesting to listen to. But I thought these were better songs. Like I could listen to that, and I would be all right. Like the other one, like I feel like I have to be in a super specific mood or playing the guitar. But I think my favorite of all the recommendations is probably the Gypsy Kings one, just
Ah,
because I've
okay.
listened to them a lot and I really like the instrumentation and the vocals and the catchiness. Because, like I said, I don't speak Spanish, but like I'm always fucking singing Bamboleo. You know what I mean? Like it just still resonates with me.
Bambole.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, or you're like escúchame, escúchame.
yeah. So like Gypsy Kings gets me more in that mood. So I don't think anything's
Mm,
gonna top them just because I don't listen to this genre and I like them a lot. So I think it's kind of where that goes for me. But no, I think this is my second favorite, which is
okay.
interesting to say because I
Um,
think the other two just weren't constructed as well.
if you want to count it as Latin music, like where'd you put the Tim Maya album?
Oh, I forgot about Tim Maya. I did like that a lot too.
Yeah, that shit is
I like
good.
that more than okay. So I think I like Tim
If
Maya
that
more than this.
counts. I mean, would you count that as Latin music? I wouldn't, but
I mean, not
some
specifically.
people do.
It was more. I mean, obviously it's Latin influence, but it was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, you can argue about subgenres back and forth, but he is a Latin
Sure.
artist, and like it's not like specifically Western styled music. Like, it has a little bit of fusions and elements in there. So I think, yeah, it goes Gypsy Kings, him, um, then this Cuban compilation, then Roberto Lara, and then probably Mark Anthony. I think that goes my tier list.
I recommend it to you. Anything else that wasn't like that was Latin? I'm trying to remember. I don't think
I don't
so.
think so. Coldplay was the only other one that you recommended that obviously isn't Latin, but I don't think. I think that's been it. I don't know how many of these we've done.
I think so. Yeah, it was. Yeah, my recommendations have been uh, Guitar de las Pampas, Parachutes, Gypsy Kings, Tim Maya, um, Mark Anthony. Yeah, so that is it. um, yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, this one I mean, obviously it's a compilation of different artists, but I think all of the artists are really solid, and I can see why they had critical acclaim. Um, and
Yeah,
it is fun.
I
It is a very fun. Like, it makes me want to go do something. I think that's the other thing too, because I feel like I just like miserable sitting in my room listening to. Like, I wish I was out, having fun and doing something. So I
what
think that's the other portion of it too.
I must tell you, it is so fun to listen to this music when you're just driving on the interstate. Like when
Yeah,
I'm working and like I have nothing to because that is like the perfect state to just listen to music because I don't have anything else like on my mind, right?
yeah.
So I'm just kind of just sitting there and I'm just in prime condition to just absorb music. And when I'm just going at a good speed down the interstate, it hits the spot.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely really good driving music. Because again, like, it's faster paced. It's like it's good to go fast and drive fast and listen to fast music. Like, it all fucking concocts together very well.
Except for like Fabiano. That one's a little slower. But
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just like
uh
traditional. Like, the majority of the songs were the standard, like, faster dancing salsa music.
yeah. But yeah, I was going to recommend Jason guys this album by Kiki Valera, which he is also Cuban, and he has a really really good album. I wanted to show Jason, but I thought since Jason wasn't really familiar with Cuban music, I may as well just show him this one because it's like a compilation of a bunch of different Cuban artists, as opposed to just showing him one specifically.
Yeah, I think it's a good introduction. It kind of so I guess I haven't really listened to anything else you recommended that's technically considered salsa, so I don't really know what the differences are between like Cuban salsa music and just standard salsa music from other countries. Um,
The most popular styles are like there's the Cuban one, and there's like the Puerto Rican one, and the Colombian ones are like those are the three that I know, and I
okay.
can kind of hear them and I could tell the difference. Um, Even if I wouldn't be able to necessarily explain to them in a concise way, I can still hear them and I can kind of tell.
I see.
Um,
I think
yeah,
I think so they would pretty much be pretty similar.
I mean they're similar, but like there you could probably tell the difference. Like especially a guy who's musically in tune like you are. Like
Interesting.
the instrumentation is different. Like the use of the montuno is not as present in Cuban music. I don't know if you could tell, but
I don't. So, like, there's a bunch of sounds going on, and like there's ones where like it comes in and out of the frames. Like, I'll notice them, like, ooh, that's a cool sound, and then it kind of goes away, and then like so, like there's a bunch of that happens. So sometimes it's hard to remember what is what.
yeah, I know. But no, like the note choices can be different. Um, yeah, I mean obviously the singing is going to be slightly different just because they're from different regions.
Right.
Yeah, I might recommend to you the Latin Brothers greatest hits. They're so good.
Did you? I did you not recommend them one time? Did we not listen to it?
No, I have not shown you the Latin Brothers yet.
Okay,
I
you're
mean,
talking about them. I can't remember if we did one of them.
yeah, because they're like prime, um, like Colombian salsa group. Like everyone loves them. Like they're a household name in Colombia. Like
Let me see.
same thing with Grupo Nietzsche. Everyone knows them, and Grupo Galé. All those guys are really good.
I see. Yeah, I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, I think it was very solid, and I think yeah, the ones that really stuck out to me the most are the ones that I thought were the best was the Con by Segundo.
Um, did you like Nuestra Ruca, which was the 10th track?
Um, let me see. I'm pulling up my thing here. Do. Who was that? Wait, I think dude. For some reason, I feel like I couldn't listen to this on Apple Music. I had to like,
What?
yeah, it wouldn't let me do it, so I had to like type it in and listen to it and do it all manually. So it was kind of a
Oh, that's
process.
that's what I had to do for Slipknot.
Oh, it wouldn't let you listen to it for YouTube.
No, I don't really know why, but so that's why I had to just put
It's
it
because
all
they're
in like
just
in the
Nazis about how they want to make you sign up for everything and just fucking submit. So it makes it difficult to just from the outside looking in.
submission.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
I did like that one. I don't really like his voice. I think it
In that
like
song or like in the other
no, I
songs as
like it in
well.
that song a lot, but I think like just in general, like it doesn't really do anything for me. I made notes on it, but like I'm struggling to just like even right now just think about what it like specifically sound like or the nuances of it. Like it just sounds like standard singing to me in my head.
Yeah, I got you. Another question I have is like, do you like this more like like more or less or about the same as just like American jazz music?
I think I've honestly probably listened to more of this than I have American jazz music. I think it just depends. I mean, again, jazz is also one of those genres where it's like I don't want to sit in my room and listen to jazz. It's a social thing for me too. I think like any type of music that I just don't listen to on my own that I like, it has to be just with people. And
I
like
got you.
like I was saying earlier today, I like going to places that do like jazz open mics or just like a standard jam. So people just walk up there with their fucking sunglasses and cab hats and they just go to town. So stuff like that. Even though a lot of it's wanky, but it's I like seeing people do shit like that. I don't know why. Like even if it's like quote unquote bad musicianship or something that's entertaining or something that's cringy, that's funny, or just straight up just like why the fuck are you doing this? Like I love stuff like that. So going
Yeah, I'm sure
especially
it's
live. I
fun.
like
Yeah.
anything live music.
Yeah, I would love to see this kind of music live.
Yeah. That'd be super
Like
fun. On
I
a
had a
boat.
dream that like yeah, on a boat. I had a dream that we were just chilling in Old Town, like just playing this kind of music, and I was singing it.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah.
definitely like it would be a fun thing for going to any old town of any city and hearing musicians play in the street. Like it gets everybody in the mood to just, eat and drink and have fun.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the nearest kind of club where you can hear this kind of music would probably be in like New York, I can imagine, or something like that.
I'd imagine there's some clubs in DC specifically that play salsa music or I don't know,
Yeah,
at
I
least
could
the
see that.
bastardized version of it, club remix.
Yeah, because like in those big cities, you can kind of find like almost anything, you
Yeah.
know, like in terms of like food and like entertainment and stuff like that. You can find like almost anything attuned to like what
I
you want.
know places especially around here there's like specific Spanish clubs, but I assume they don't play stuff like this. I assume they play more modern
Oh,
rap or reggaeton or something like that.
are you talking about like 90 grados?
Whatever, there's a million of
Like
them.
that? There's that one that's on like I think Sudley. That one I've never been there, but like I can imagine it's probably gonna be like reggaeton.
I've never been to one, but I have some friends where I've seen them post on their stories like them just like dancing in the club, and it's just standard modern like Spanish club music. But I'd imagine that like there's some. I guess the closest thing is Zumba. Like if you go to like a gym and they're doing a Zumba class, then they're gonna play a lot of salsa. So you can do that if you like.
Oh, dude, have you ever danced salsa?
I have. And I've done Zumba, so I guess I haven't like done it in the context of just dancing. I've always done it working out. So I don't know, but I
It is
haven't like
so
gone to a
fun.
club and danced salsa. No.
Well, I've never actually done it with a partner, but it's really fun, even just by yourself to just do like the step forward and the back and all, and just shake your body. It's so fun.
Well,
Dancing
now's
is
your
a
chance.
really yes. Well, anyway, so dancing is a really just good way to get high naturally. You know?
Yeah, Yeah,
especially like it exercise and all that stuff. Like it just that rush of like, oh, like just when you're moving, it's so nice. And I would love to do it to this kind of music.
yeah, and like I said, it just really amplifies the music much a lot more when you get into that headspace, or like you said, you feel that natural high, because obviously there's music where you can just get that feeling without doing anything, but then you have to have something that amplifies it, whether it's dancing, drugs, being with the right person, etc., etc. So
Yeah, dude, I think with like if I was listening to this kind of music or like the Latin Brothers while actually like dancing in a club, I would just be like on an like fucking like third eye level. Like I would be I would have to be having so much fun.
I can see you like drunk, just like putting your head down, closing your eyes, and just fucking like bobbing, like super vibing really hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, cuz this music it just has this spice to it. This like
Yeah,
flavor, you know? It's just like earlier how we were talking about with my dad where like there's this kind of like creativity that's involved. And I just love how these beats are constructed and how all these guitar solos and like the timing it's so all like well placed and like they because a lot of music is like the timing, you know,
yeah,
and
that's
and
like
like just
almost all music.
yeah, no, and exactly, and it's like you need to put it in like the right like spots and how it like music can also play with like your expectations. Like that's how like beats can sound like really just like groovy as fuck, or they could just be sound flat, you know?
Yeah, I mean, people just really. I mean, obviously, most modern music is hyper focused on vocals and rhythm, but timing is very important, especially depending on what instrument you play. Like, it's just it's one story to be out of time or in time or create something that's catchy, but it's another thing to really just come in at like the instinctual time. And what I mean by that is like you come in at like the most organic spot that you feel on a primal level, and it just fucking makes you move without you having to think about it. Like having that kind of timing as a musician is really something that everyone else envies or should envy, really.
Yeah, because everyone has that kind of thing that they can do naturally, and it's so intuitive to them. They're like,
Yeah.
how do you guys not see this? Like for me, um, I'm kind of like that with certain beats, and like because I took dance when I was younger, so like I could, you know, because I know how to count and I can like follow all of like the moves and stuff like that. But also, so like that's why I was like someone who couldn't clap to a beat. I was like, what is wrong with you? You know, I was like, you really can't see that. But like a thing that I am not necessarily in tune with that other people would say like, Will, how do you not see that? Would be like math and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody resonates with things differently. I think it's funny when you're going to a
Yeah,
concert and people aren't clapping at the right tempo and like the the artists are getting pissed.
yeah,
But
dude, I've experienced with that in the youth group where we're singing a song and they're going on like the upbeat as opposed to the downbeat. I'm like, no.
a bunch of vanilla squares.
Yeah,
Um,
basically.
but yeah, if you think about it, like how many people are musically talented on this planet, right? There's at least millions of them if you really wanted to take a survey, but not that many people have just impeccable timing, and even just on like a rhythmic level too, so where they can keep something steady, or at least if it's a little bit
Yeah,
off time, it's interesting enough to where it amplifies the song as well. But I mean it is a specific style, so there's millions of people that are, fucking professionals or they're classically trained or whatever, but it's just so rudimentary. There's no creativity, and it's just predictable, I guess I should say, for lack
right.
of a
And
better
that's
word.
and that's why I don't really like reggaeton because like the creativity is lost and I'm like, man, like y'all's music used to be a lot cooler, you know?
I don't know. I think that's more lazy, and I know I can say that
All
because
right.
like
Yeah, and it
it
was
it
more like craft centered and stuff like that.
yeah, and like it's not even like
Yeah.
a different culture's music. Like no, like it's fucking lazy. It just is.
A few of like there's some reggaeton songs I like. I actually I think I mentioned in this podcast. I tend to like the ones that are actually like more emotional and not the ones that are like trying to sound cool. Because those I just like cringe so hard.
Yeah.
I'm like crying.
I don't know why Spanish rap has always been funny to me, just with the high pitched fucking.
It's
Just I
so
can't take it seriously. I just
yeah.
can't.
Like the auto tune is just like
Oh, it's awful. It's like I thought autotune in like our rap was bad, but dude, Spanish autotune is the worst. It like
yeah,
makes it
man.
sound out of tune.
No, because you can see how
It's not
like
autotune,
the
it's out of tune for those motherfuckers.
yeah, out of tune, but you can see how like the jazz translated well overseas into like these Latin American countries, but the rap, I don't think so.
No. Rap is a very
Oh,
hard. I mean, every country has a rap fucking equivalent. Some of it sounds cool, but some of it is really fucking cringy. It just is like it. It's not their music, so it should be
there's
cringy.
actually, did I tell you there's some really good Brazilian rap music?
That's the one you should recommend to me. Is I'd be interested to hear Brazilian rap because
Um,
like I listen to a lot of
yeah,
Brazilian rock, Brazilian metal, a lot of other types of artists. So like I like a lot of the stuff that the Brazilians do. So I probably would enjoy some of the rap too.
yeah, because they're actually like they're really similar to America in that sense, where like they can do like a bunch of different kind of things,
Yeah, there's
and
a
and kind
lot
of
of
make it their
talented.
own. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of talented Brazilian guitar players that I listen to that I know.
Tim
Um,
Maya.
yeah, Tim Mai is one of them. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, man.
no reggaeton for me.
No reggaeton for you, my friend.
No permiso.
But do you want to listen to the Hecho en Cuba Volumen Uno?
I did enjoy it. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I don't think I enjoy it in this context of like sitting down and analyzing it. I think it
I
just
see.
puts it
I
into like
just
an overload.
how much does that have to do with the fact that I'm just like more into Latin culture? So I'm just more like how would I say like I'm just more inclined to like it by default. Not necessarily, but like I just can I always kind of like just see it. I'm like, oh, I love this like this culture and these vibes so much, as opposed to you, where like you're not like you dislike it, but you're just like, I mean, I because like the language thing does like matter
I was about to say
and stuff like that.
I think it's only because it's in a different language because I mean you can ask me like I understand the culture of hardcore music pretty well and just whether that's like metal, punk, rock, whatever the fuck, right? A lot of the culture I don't like. I don't like a lot of the people that go to those types of shows. Like I don't like talking to them or like a lot of them just have so much bullshit that you have to deal with. So it's like I generally don't enjoy the culture around that music, but I just innately like the sound. So I feel like yeah, understanding a culture and being into a culture, you're gonna like the music a little bit more. But also, I think there's things you just love the sound of. There's things you like the sound of, and there's things you don't like the sound of. So it's just one of those things, and
Yeah,
that's why in this type of music, it gives me a good understanding because like even if like it's sounds that I like, but doesn't resonate with me, there's specific things and subtleties within the music that I do grab and resonate with. And there's a lot of songs that I do feel really strongly where I can listen to it in whatever context and I like it. So I think you can kind of separate the two.
yeah. Do you think that like music like this can only really sound good if it's in Spanish?
I don't know. I haven't heard any in English. I think it depends. Like
Yeah, I mean, because like I don't know if I said this, but I think Mark Anthony's English language music is awful.
well, I think it's just he's trying to cater to the American audience. I don't think it's because it was in English it was awful. It's the fact that it was a completely different style of music. He didn't do his traditional style in
I mean,
English.
it is like well, it's not completely different, but it is different.
Well, no, it's a completely
But
different
also
like
like,
it's different
but
writing
what
for sure.
like would you think that like if it was in English, it would just kind of feel out of place?
I don't know. I honestly just feel it. Honestly, it's sounding like a cop out answer, but I think it honestly just depends on who does it. Like obviously, like you can have really, like I was saying earlier with the timing thing, like you can have people that are professionally trained and they sing very well, but then it sounds out of place when they sing this music, especially if they don't enunciate shit right. Because I feel like if you sing it, you're gonna have to sing it in English with an accent. I don't think you can like do it in like an American pronunciation and then it would sound cool. Unless it, like I said, it just depends on the person. I don't know, but it's to me, I
I
think it would sound
mean,
out of place in American
the
English.
right. I mean, I know like people have said this about like rapping like not in a black accent,
Yeah.
and I can see what they're saying.
Well, it depends on the artist because there's a lot of white rappers that don't sound cringy, and there's a lot that do sound cringy. It just depends if it's authentic or if they're really trying to force something. But I'm saying like if somebody found it, I'm sure there's somebody that is out there that finds a creative way to do this in English and it sounds awesome. I don't know.
Dude, that just reminded me. Do you know NF?
I listened to a couple of his songs. I don't know. I just find them kind of boring.
He's really bad.
Yeah. I don't
Eminem
feel
is some
either
stuff
way
I
about
like.
him. I can't listen to a full song. I don't feel anything from it. Which like I think my problem with him is like he's trying to like he's talking about really sad shit, but like his voice never really changes. It just kind of like I always see all the people go like, oh, I can hear the pain in his voice. Like it's the same shit the whole song. Like I don't feel any different. You know what I
No,
mean?
man. Feeling pain in his voice is hearing the guy in Gypsy Kings talk about how he misses his lover. That was sad, man. I like genuinely felt bad for the singer when he was just like belting out how much like he bitterly missed his lover.
Yeah, and like I said, that's more of a subjective thing, but I don't know. Like I didn't really feel anything, and it wasn't really cringy to me, but it because I don't think he was over the top about it. I think if he was more over the top, then it would be cringy. But like it just, I don't know. Like I just didn't connect with it at all.
Yeah, yeah, it just doesn't make you feel anything.
Yeah. Which is weird because I
Um,
use like there's a lot of sad rap songs that I love for that reason where they're talking about some shit that's super painful, and even if I didn't go through it, it's something that I can relate to my life. So and obviously like the pain in the voice you can hear, but I don't get that from him. I just don't.
right. Well, even if they're not songs that I would necessarily go out and listen to on a regular basis, I really like some of, like you said, like sad boy rap songs. I think some
Yeah.
of Little Uzi songs are good.
He's a fucking weird guy. I do like I don't know how many songs I've listened to from him, but obviously
Neither have I. Like, probably not that many, but like, there's a couple on his like album from like 2016 where I'm like, oh, that actually is like, it's sad and it's like kind of pleasant, you know. And
I
he's
think
talking about like his mom and stuff like that. It's kind of sad, you know.
it makes me
But
sad too because it just I miss that era and I sound like a fucking idiot, but I miss that like that 2015 to 2018 era. I feel like after 2018 shit just hit the fan and I just like personal things in my life too after that year. Like that was a bad fucking year and I think that was like the ending of it. So like that fucking 4 years or I'm sorry, like yeah, I would say 2015 to 2018 I would is probably like
right at
I
like
wish I could
right
go
when you
back
got
to
out of
it.
high school.
Yeah, right when I graduated high school. Um,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like
I
I'm
wish I
just
could have
start
those years back.
realizing how little time I have to do things like this anymore.
Yeah,
Because
man,
like
you're at that age where you're supposed to be having a shit ton of fun, and like I said, my from when I was 18 to when I was like 22, that was like pretty fucking fun. But as soon as 23 hit, I was like, this sucks now. So really pay attention to these years because I guarantee you that's going to be your most fun. And I hope it's not the case. I hope you have many fun years, well into your 80s. But just statistically, this
just
is it.
yeah,
So please enjoy it because those are
just
my
be
best years.
just be chilling like just Joey Diaz, like just with
Yeah,
his fucking taco and
exactly.
woo.
Have as much fun as you can, man. I don't know how much longer it's
Yeah,
going to be like this.
Mardi Gras is very fun, but I just kind of like working, and I like just having a weekend with nothing in it. It's very nice.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm the same. That's why I dropped out of school because like I remember telling my parents like I just want to work. Like I don't want to fucking go through this bullshit. I just want to make money. I want to advance my career on my own path. Like I don't want to have to fucking be at the mercy of the degree that I get or just be in a job I don't like. So I was like you. Like I want to have a set schedule. I want to have a good home life and relax and have my hobbies and not have to worry about it. Like I've been ready for that since I graduated high school. Honestly.
Oh yeah, dude, I wanted that. Like when I went into my senior year of high school, like I went into my senior year of high school going like I'm not going to college.
Yeah.
And I still abide by that decision.
Man, looking back, I wish I wouldn't have done it because every memory that I've had has just been like meeting people at college. It's not been like people that I went to college with. So, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I honestly wish if I would have knew, like taking music in the direction that I'm taking it now, just being able to make money, not making music, but obviously selling equipment. I wish I would have just done that, starting in high school and just did that right out of high school, and I could have built up sooner and had more fun. So I think that's my only regret is just wasting fucking time and money going to school.
How many years did you spend going to
Dude,
college?
I never did it full time because I was always working while I was doing school. So I did school part time,
Right.
and I think
Yeah.
it took me like 4 years just to go through community college, and then I dropped out like 2 semesters of going to a state school. So it was a lot of wasted fucking time, and I didn't learn anything. I really didn't. When I look back, like I didn't learn shit, and I paid for
You
it.
you went to George Mason.
Yeah,
Oh
I didn't learn
yeah.
shit. It was awful. I took a fucking English class in George Mason. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? I thought I got all my gen eds out of the way, but like, nope, you still have to take fucking another math class, another science class, another goddamn English class. Like, this is retarded. I'm tired of doing this.
Yeah, no, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for like general education, but like at that point, like,
There's too many stupid
uh,
motherfuckers. We need more specialized. I think you should be specialized at birth. Like, you figure out who's good at what, who's not good at what, and fucking place them there. Like, I don't think we should have general education because we have it now and
that's
everybody's
how.
fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's how it was like back in like the Middle Ages, right? Because
They
like
should bring it back.
hardly anyone was educated. Like hardly anyone knew how to read. You
Well, I think
know,
everybody should be educated, but I think it should be specialized. Like,
in that sense, right?
yeah.
But obviously, like
Let me clarify that.
right now, um, well, I mean, it just depends on like what you mean by educated, like you brought up. But because like back in the day, you would basically have your career like set if from like when you were 16, because you would just have an apprenticeship in like the guild system, and you would
Right.
just learn your skill and just stick with that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think some other countries kind of run that way. There's more people that are specialized in things because they've have years of training as opposed to fucking 4 or 8. Like I think medical school and law school are like the two that are the longest. It's like I'm blanking on the number of years, but I think that's
Depending
like
on what you could do, like depending on what it specifically is you're doing in that, I think some medicals takes up to like 10 years or something,
yeah,
right?
10 to 12. So and they're highly
Yeah,
specialized in
I
engineering
know.
and like IT. Like more of that is like experience on the job and just like kind of snowballing of what you've done before. Obviously, you never stop learning in those fields because it's constantly changing. But um,
Yeah, I
it's
mean
just the setting. Like
for those fields that makes sense though, because like let's say like you want to be a surgeon, like you really need to know like what the fuck you're doing.
yeah,
And obviously like that's a rare skill, so it makes sense that like you have to be committed like 100% if you want to do that.
yeah, no, you do, and I think because
So
like
that's why like I would never look down upon someone who wants to go to medical school, because I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's a valuable skill that serves like that serves other people very well. Like, if that's really what you think you're meant to do, then go do it.
I
Yeah.
mean, we need everybody. Like everybody has their place. Like
Well,
even like
yes,
the
exactly.
shitty jobs that no one wants to do, or like the jobs that don't pay well, but they give you so much convenience, like fast food or fucking entertainment or whatever the fuck, right? So like everything has their place, and life would be miserable if those didn't run more efficiently, or if we didn't have them at all. But I remember like my high school, I had a bunch of different types of programs. Like there was architectural, drafting, there was CAD, there was engineering, there was like the auto shop had a program at a school that you could go and like work on race cars. So it's like my school had a bunch of opportunities that I should have taken advantage of that I didn't. But I think a lot of them were getting stripped away, obviously because of funding, or they just were too many fucking kids. So it's like they just need more classrooms for generalized education, or a lot of it was ESOL too. So I think a lot of it was just being stripped away. So I don't know how much is left there, but when I was there, I didn't realize, the amount of benefits I could have been taking. I just took all it for granted. There was, I don't know if I've mentioned, I probably told you in person, but I don't know if I've mentioned it on here. I did a lot of AutoCAD stuff. Like I could have been certified in AutoCAD if I stuck with it. And I think it was Lockheed Martin or Micron. I think it was Lockheed Martin. They were taking kids out of high school that were certified in AutoCAD, and they would be entry level drafters. Um, so there's just a bunch of shit like that they did that I didn't do.
So like, do you still like? I mean, are you still happy like with where you're at now?
I'm happy with what I'm doing. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it sucks that everything is getting super inflated and expensive, and like I can't have my own place. I have to fucking rent out from other people, and I can't have someone to share it. You know what I mean? Like I don't have like that normal, comfortable home style life. It's nothing like super stressful, but obviously like making more money, and like I've never been the one to like be super ambitious about like physical or material success, or like having a title or anything. But I think the more people I meet and just the more reputation that I build, I think it's something that I'm starting to get a little bit more drive for. But again, I don't want to like spiral myself and be that's what the only thing that's important, to where it just makes me depressed if I don't gain it. So I'm at this weird crossroads where it's like I'm happy with what I'm doing and where I'm at, but it's just not enough financially, and it's not enough. I think for me, like going to California and like seeing people in suits and seeing people just be successful and made it and just talking to other people and just being in that circle, I think is a little enticing. But again, I don't want it to just consume me. So who knows? But I do have some kind of drive. I'm not just complacent.
Yeah, you don't want to become a member of the elite.
No, I don't want to be. I don't want to have so much prominence to where it's a problem. But like, I want to have. I like having a good reputation and being, respectable in a field. That makes that sounds good to me. And if I never have to be worried about money, then I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's just like we mentioned on this, like just being able to live financially stable is just so nice.
Yeah,
I
and
can imagine. Yeah.
God knows where we're gonna be in fucking 2 years or even this fall. But I don't know. I hope it just keeps going because I don't have a contingency. So we.
Right. We, dude, the
But what
Wii
about
was
you? What do
so
you?
fun.
What's your
Oh, sorry,
drive now?
that was such a bad attempt to change the subject. I could talk about that later.
Yeah.
Um, what am I trying to do? You said.
Well, I know like you're talking about how you have abilities to move up in the job that you're at now. So
Yeah, dude, I actually wouldn't really mind doing that because a lot of the people where I work, and keep in mind it's a small business, it's not a lot of people. Like especially in the office, I don't even think it's 10 people. Um,
those are always the best.
yeah, and like I could tell like these people they all like each other because they've all known each other for like 20 years, and they've all been working there for a long time. Um, they I don't know how to say like it's just so homey when I'm there, especially like when I'm eating lunch with them. Like it's all like family style, where we pass food around, all that stuff. Like, hey, hand me some napkins. It's all like that, and like we all do our own dishes, and we all just kind of help out, and like we all clean up the office. It's a nice place, and the other thing is that they're all like kind of old, right? And so they're not. I don't know how much longer they're gonna be in this job before they retire. So that's why, like, one of the guys told me he's so happy that a guy that's my age is working with them as opposed to like somebody who's like 40 who was the last guy in my position be like you know having the warehouse job because that guy doesn't necessarily have the same drive as I do because he's way older and like just he's lived a lot more of his life but also like that, it would be harder for that guy to establish himself in a company like this when he's that old and like to be able to move up and stuff like that. But like for me, since I'm here and I'm really young, I can stay here for a long time. I can make a lot of connections. Um, yeah, and I can just see how like things are done, especially like the
That's the most
guys.
important part. Pay attention to that extremely
Yeah,
well
yeah, because
because you
like
might
I
be,
was.
in charge of it one day if you want to keep going.
Yeah, yeah, like that's what I was saying earlier today. The amount of stuff we never realize how much is goes into building and like a building or like a facility or like anything like a construction project because you need all of the woodworkers, you need all of like the flooring, the walls, the paint, the drywall, the electricity, the air conditioning. Like there's also like all this legal stuff you need to do. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a building, and so and also like you need someone obviously to oversee it and all that stuff, and that's like what my boss does. And he was telling me he's like, hey, I'm getting kind of old, so like it'd be nice if you stayed around and I could show you around. And that kind of just made me think like, oh yeah, so like this is not like a disposable summer job. Like this is something that I could actually like invest my career in. And the guy who was in not the position right before me, but the guy who was he was in the position before the guy before me. He moved on to a different part in the same company, so now he's an estimator. And he was telling me he's like, yeah, this is like my career now. But like he
That
never thought that that's what his career would have been. Like he went to college and he did all this stuff, and he like lived in LA for a little while. But now he's like, no, this is my career, and I can actually do this very well.
Yeah, and there's nothing more to ask for, and I mean, it's you're lucky to get in that position because a lot of jobs that you just walk into are dead ends. So you get in and good with the people, and it's small enough to where you're able to move up and be considered for more than just being an employee. Like, I mean, honestly, like it's the way to go. And, the
Yeah.
experience that you're going to gain is a lot better than anything you learn in college, especially the area that we're in. Like, that's always going to be needed. And especially for higher level contracts, like, for the government or for big tech, because that's big here. So, I
Yeah,
don't think
man.
that there's, like I said, yeah, it totally could be a, a big career advancing move for you if you stick around and, go as high as you can go.
Yeah, like they were telling me how like during COVID I mean obviously the business went down, but they were not allowed to close because it's under construction and construction is listed as essential and all essential things are like required to stay open even in like, a time like COVID or something like that
Right. Yeah.
or like war, let's say. God forbid. Um yeah, and like obviously the warehouse, it's just such a nice feeling being a steward to something, and like I gotta obviously like sometimes there come situations where I get really busy and I just things pile up, like the papers on my desk or like the paint buckets sitting around the warehouse that are haven't been put up and stuff like that. But it's so nice just being able to actually just like, all right, I'm gonna clean this, move this here, we can tidy that up, do all this stuff. It's a very happy feeling that you get from that, you know.
Yeah. Um,
And I'm sure you get the same feeling when you have to clean stuff in the guitar store. You got to move this guitar around. Like, hey, like, what can we do to like save space? Let's rearrange this and all that.
I'm super fucking
It's
unorganized, so it's not that, but I do find like working on it. Yeah, that's how it's always been working on it. But no, I do find like, fixing instruments or working on them or cleaning them specifically relaxing. And I also like it too because it does feel like I'm providing a service. Like a lot of people, when I do fix it up for them, like they're really grateful or like it gets them back into playing again and they're super happy or it feels really nice. So that part of it too is really gratifying. Just, I don't feel like I'm doing something that's dead end or I'm just, in the fucking gear rotation for the next thing. I'm not doing the same things over
yeah,
and over again. So I get to
that,
see like the actual personal gratification on people's faces and interacting with them. So that part socially I really love as well. And it makes me just solidify that that's what I'm supposed to do.
yeah, and I can tell, dude, like when I deliver something to like a job site that somebody like desperately needed, like I can just tell like on their face, they're like, thank you, man, for like coming out like an hour of your way to like bring this to me.
Yeah, and no, and that goes a long way more than people realize. Obviously, if you're in a place where you can't advance, you're just gonna get taken advantage of. But like, if in your position, like the one that you're in, like that's how you build your reputation. That's how you make more money. Essentially, like you just people don't understand. Like you have to fucking, you're gonna get what you give if you're in the right spot and you choose the right thing.
Well, yeah, because how you compose yourself is really going to determine how, like like you said, what you're going to get out of it,
It's
and how
so
people are going to
important on
treat
a
you back.
creepy level.
On a creepy
It's
level,
so
I don't
fake.
know,
It's
but
fucking dumb, but it's important.
yeah, um, it's just so weird because like there's so many jobs now. Like it's insane the level of variety there is in the modern world for employment.
Yeah.
Because like we could have these super advanced like tech skills that like only like two people know how to do, but then at the same time you could still just find standard traditional work. Like I'm gonna build a house, or like I'm just gonna paint a house, or I'm gonna do all these like physical bare hand things.
Yeah, and that's why I go back and forth when people bitch about stuff like that because obviously like I know I've made this point clear like if you're working full time no matter what fucking job it is I don't think you should struggle to live but at the same time there are a lot of smaller businesses or places where you can just jump in if you know the right person or something that's just totally on a whim that you might not know that you can make a career out of it and it is a lot more difficult to find and it is a crapshoot and you really I mean obviously there's jobs that you would hate to do but it could make it your career it just depends on who you are as a person but I see a lot of people bitch about that like they're all like it's also people that mainly just get restaurant jobs like it's going to be a dead end no matter which one you do unless you're a really good fucking server or you're really attractive or you're a really good bartender or you work in a really busy restaurant in a city like unless you're like most people are working at Red Robin bitching about they can't make money you know what I mean like there's just like they know they're going to get into another dead end job but that's the only thing they can do because it's the only thing that they're qualified
Yeah,
for but they wouldn't go to
exactly.
like a random
Yeah.
like a pool supply store and find out they're good at installing pool you know what I mean like it's just sometimes you just have to really just shoot in the dark and then see if it works out and opposed to doing the same thing over and over again and then bitching about it not being lucrative like it's not going to be lucrative
Yeah, because it's like you know that there's only so much you can get out of the certain job. Like especially like
Yeah.
with McDonald's. I mean, obviously you can move up to McDonald's and become a manager and move up in that respect, but also like, I mean, there's no way I wanted to do that. But if you
It
don't
doesn't
want to do
sound
that,
worth it. The money is not there. It sounds like it's more stress and it's more work and responsibility than is necessary. So like it doesn't sound like it would be a good move up anyway.
right? The highest I could have moved up, I was like a backup. I was the backup maintenance guy for a little while at one of the stores, but the problem was the two guys. So I worked at two McDonald's. Remember, both of the guys that were there at the respective stores were both like some of like the best guys. So like they were not leaving anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah. So like because they got paid, they pay those both guys like a lot of money because like almost all the McDonald's in the districts want them, and they compete for like the payment and stuff like that. Like no, we'll pay him this much. You know?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of stupid fucking bureaucratic nonsense, but on a peanut level, it's just dumb.
But yeah, it's funny how this shit's happening at McDonald's. You know,
God
like
damn.
just fighting over the maintenance dude. Dude, for a little while they were actually fighting over me.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, because like the lady at the other store, like by the Manassas airport, she wanted me like full time, but then the other lady was like, nope, I don't want that. Like he's based at my store, so I need him
You should have
for at
been
least a
like,
little bit.
all right, ladies, you gotta do some favors to keep.
No, I am never doing that. So
No, no, I'm fucking around.
yes,
Yeah,
do
dude.
me do me a favor and listen to Cuban music.
What do you guys think about this? This is kind of close to your culture, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. No, I don't think there's like any. The only Caribbean people I know out here are like some. I know some Puerto Ricans and then like a couple Dominicans, and that's really it.
Yeah, I was about to say it. I mainly just know
There's no Cubans. Yeah,
I mainly know Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans and like some Dominicans. I know a couple of Dominicans.
yeah. I think I've met like one Cuban, but like he's not our age. Like he was just some random like middle aged dude in the drive through.
Good old Cuba. Do you want to go to Cuba soon?
If it's legal, yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's legal.
yeah. It's so I just so pretty. I just love the visual aspect of Cuba.
Yeah,
It's
and I
so
don't know what
gorgeous.
I'm sure the beaches are really cool down there, and just like all the architecture and all the old styles of buildings and all that. It would be really fun to go in. Also, like trying like authentic Cuban food would be really awesome too. I really want to try Cuban food from the
Food down in the
motherland.
Caribbean is very good.
Yeah,
Oh, have you read The Old Man in the Sea?
a fucking million years ago. I don't even remember what it's about.
I love it. I just read it not too long ago. Um, it like, do you remember what it's about?
I don't. I really. You know what? Now that I think about it, I haven't read it. I just.
Okay.
It sounds like something I would read, but then I haven't. I don't even. What is it about though?
Well, okay. So The Old Man in the Sea is about this old fisherman in Cuba who he's never really caught like a fish before.
Simp.
Well, okay, no, I think like I think he's caught fish, but like I think they were like he wants to catch like a big fish, and he's never been able to like catch one. But then he goes out one day fishing, and then he catches like this. I think it's like a swordfish or something, or like a marlin. Like it's really big, and he thought about giving up because like it was towing him along like way away from the coastline, and he didn't want to get that far away from the land. But he's like, you know what? No, I'm sticking with this fish. Like you're going down, I'm catching you, and it's just about like perseverance stuff like that. And
So it's basically the Spanish Moby Dick.
um, yeah, but it's a lot shorter, and there's a lot more of the actual animal in question because I know Moby Dick is like 700 pages, and the whale doesn't actually come until like page like 600.
I hate it, dude. I remember because like I was always fascinated by the story of Moby Dick, but then like I couldn't get past the first chapter. I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? This is like something some like emo kid would write.
I've never read it. I have a copy of it actually right here on my
It's
desk.
it's
But
basically like fucking just all adjectives. Like it's just all describing words. Like there's no fucking story. It's just this dude literally just making up random like poetic sentences about nothing. Like it doesn't even get into the story. It's a
a
very
lot of
hard read.
people, a lot of people say that about Christmas Carol. Even though I think Christmas Carol is very good.
They said that about Chris. That's like a kid's story.
No, but you know how Charles Dickens was paid by the word, so he just added in like a bunch of words.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Just
yeah.
because if he did that, he would get paid more. So he's like, yeah, may as well just write another word here. So like it's so wordy, and the sentences are so long.
Yeah, I I'm not a fan of like I just think it's pretentious. Like there's obviously really beautiful ways you can describe something, but there's also just fucking just dreary drudging out adjectives that you just don't need to say. Like we get the picture. You don't need to fucking take 2 sentences to describe the sky. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I for me like I can't get into a story if it's just a bunch of like just descriptions like that. Um, but I might read it.
Oh,
How long is it?
which one?
The Old Man in the Sea.
Oh, it's like 100 pages. Like it's like 100 pages. I don't
Oh
even
really?
think
Is
it's
that
that.
it?
Oh, it's really short. You could read it
Okay.
in maybe like a week, if you like, depending on how your schedule is. Obviously, if you have a whole day to read, you could read it in like 3 hours. But I mean, depending on how fast you read, because I know I read really slow.
I I
So
don't
it
know.
took
I
me.
feel like I read pretty average, but yeah, I think it's better to read
Okay.
slow because you get more of it kind of soaked into your brain as opposed to reading fast.
Yeah, but I mean, some people can just genuinely read fast and they absorb it all. I can't, but
Yeah, I can't
um,
read anime like I was talking about last time. I don't even remember the last time I've read a fucking book. I don't even like I haven't even written like a couple pages of a book, let
you
alone
should
a
do
whole
that.
one in forever.
You should read a book. Why not let it be The Old Man in the Sea? Actually, no. You were talking about like how much you didn't like Moby Dick and the way it was written. You'd probably not like Hemingway's style. It's You have to get accustomed to it. The
Yeah,
way
like
he writes his sentences is really jank.
like I said, I like good story. So there's a lot of interesting stories that I think are just not written that well, which is a shame. But there's a lot one like I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm just stupid, but like when I'm reading a book and it's like very not that I'm not understanding the words. Like like if I look at a word that I don't know, I can use context clues to like just like think about if it's like has a positive or negative connotation, or if it's like a very specific word. Like I'll look it up and then it might make more sense to what the author is describing. But then a lot of times it's just unnecessary and it doesn't add to the story. It just is I don't know. It's just there to enhance the fucking IQ of the person reading it. I don't know, but I
That was
think
like me with Harry Potter 5. That book was so long. And like
yeah,
there was so many subplots in that that just did not need to be in there.
yeah. I've never read a full one of Harry Potter.
Oh, you never read Harry Potter?
I've skimmed through them for like I was talking. I think we talked about it on one of the podcasts. I just skimmed through them for points, but I never
Well,
read a full book.
right. That's a good example of a book that like it's not really that well written, but the story itself is like really good. So like that's what kind of gets me going in the
Yeah,
books. Whereas opposed like in terms of like literary style and stuff like that, it's not much to brag about.
I said it last time. I don't know if people are gonna think it's funny, but I think the Goosebump books are really well written. I don't know why.
I haven't really read those, so I wouldn't be able to
They're
comment on
really
that.
into like for some reason like because like I was a lot smarter back in the day. I read like a lot of books. I did. I read a lot. I read a lot of simple
There's no
reads. I've
shame
read a
in
lot
that.
of complex reads. But for some reason, like Goosebumps was the only story where like it really just I could like see myself and visualize everything, and it was effortless, and I could just really involve myself in the story. And also, since it was like a horror, I guess more of a thriller, because like I'm reading it as a kid, like it really just kind of like you could feel it, and you could feel the fear, feel like the weirdness, or just get into the ominous or the
Yeah, you were just
ominousness of it.
excited, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Which
it's like
like
I feel like that's what stories should do, and everybody can get that at a different level. But I've never, honestly, out of everything that I'm interested in or that I've read, I haven't read a book series like Goosebumps that gets me into the story like that. It's really strange.
you know
I
what I
don't know
think is
why.
actually I think Diary of a Wimpy Kid is very well written because I
I
just
yeah,
it's
I
so
read that too.
satirical and like just it's so absurdist. I think it's really well done. It's great satire about like just average Joe, like just American culture.
Yeah, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid
Even
is not. I don't think it's like written well, but like it's just again, it's one of those ones I can just get into the story, and I think it's because there's pictures in it. But you know,
Oh god.
I didn't even
I
want to say
no,
that
I'm just
out
kidding.
loud, but I did. So there we go.
I
But
mean, it doesn't matter, but also like the pictures are funny though. Like the way
yeah,
I forgot where I read this, but like you can see how this like comes from like a middle schooler's mind, like all these
yeah,
drawings, how like, it pointed out how all of the guys look completely different, but all of the girls like they have the exact same face. They just have different hairdos.
yeah,
So
and
it it shows you like in a subtle way how Greg views girls.
yeah, and I read it when I was very young, so that's why I got like if I feel like if I went back and read like the newer ones that he released now, I'd be like, this is just fucking stupid. But back in the day, I really got
Yeah,
into I. But yeah,
past like the third or fourth book, he was put into like a contract and he was like forced to
yeah.
write them. So like he just didn't like it anymore.
Yeah. A lot of I think my favorite genre of book was like the young adult fiction. So it's like I like to read a lot of stories. Like I read one story and I wish I could remember the names, but it's been forever since I've read them. And I'll Google like the Spark Notes version online to see if I can find the book, and I can't find them. But like I read one about like America passed like a two-child policy, and so it's a story about it, like the third kid that was born and how like he had to hide from the government. So like I read a bunch of stories that were like that.
Yeah.
So as like that young adult fiction, or it was very centered. Like there's one about this kid that talks about like going through like his wild experience in high school and how it was basically run like the mafia, how like like there's like a specific sector of the kids that were like doing drugs or running the school a certain way, and he was like navigating through both worlds, and he's also navigating trying to like date girls. And so it's like I related with like the main characters that just weren't a part of any like specific social circle, but they just kind of floated in everyone's lane, and they kind of like they're very observant. And obviously they were observant because the writer is descriptive, so it's like he's describing what the character is observing. So naturally that just kind of falls in line with how I view things as well. Also, like I read a story about a boarding school in South Africa, and this kid was talking about all the wild shit that happened, and like all like the hazing and bullying that he went through, and how like like all the friends that he made, and like stuff like that. Like you really can just put yourself into the story if that happened to you, and it's relatable. I liked a
Yeah.
lot of those kind of stories.
Do you like The Giver?
I did like The Giver. I think it
That's a
was,
good one.
yeah, that was that
Yeah.
one. The movie was, but
The
that's the kind
movie's
of thing with
fine. Like
the
it's just 5 out of 10.
it's
Like
hard to make a movie from a book like that, so I don't really give it too much fault. Like that's it's difficult to do. Um,
sure, and all yeah, because like I remember the ending of The Giver. It was like, what the fuck? Like that. What just happened? Remember where he just like leaves and he hears like he just sees like a house and he just hears people singing and he just like goes into the house. It's like, what the fuck just happened? And I know they made sequels, but I've never actually read them.
so I remember when I was reading The Giver, and this is again why I loved reading, because like I could feel physical pain, not like physical pain, but like this is kind of weird. Do you like? I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way. Like when you see somebody like get injured, do you feel like a weird tingle in your balls? Like it's just like you like clench up and like fucking you
In
feel
the
it's like a rush. It
in
almost feels like it's
the
weird goosebumps. Like it goes over really quickly, then it goes away. Do you feel that?
in the balls
Yeah.
specifically.
Or like in your lower stomach, just
Um,
like in and like anywhere like in your lower region, it's just like a sudden rush of like tingle, and then it goes away. When like I see that when people get injured, like if they hit their head on something or if they hit their nuts on something.
I probably do. There's also like during like torture scenes and stuff like that, I'll probably cringe a little bit.
Yeah. But like, do you feel like a
Uh,
physical like sensation?
like those kind of reflex thingies. Not really off the top of my head
Okay.
recalling it, but I'm sure I probably do, just because it's probably natural.
Well, anyways, so that scene in The Giver where like they've never experienced pain before, and then he goes sledding and he like breaks his arm or some shit.
Oh yeah, or like when he sees war for the first time.
Yeah, so the war thing didn't get me, but like for some reason, like I haven't broken my arm, but I've like played sports and I've injured myself, so like I get the general gist of the feeling, even though it's not as intense. But like for some reason, like when I'm reading that book and like it described him falling off the sled and breaking his arm, like I felt that it was really strange, even
I
more
thought
than if I was to see it in the movie.
the actual like scene in the movie, which I thought was like the most creative part about it, was how like the whole thing was like in black and white until he like saw color for the first time, and you see like the apple, and it's like, oh whoa, and like all the color just like sprung out of the like started flourishing out of the apple. I thought that was really cool looking.
Yeah, and I think, and it's been for fucking ever since I've read the book. I think they, because like you didn't really catch on to that until a little bit later, because like he was like, I remember them talking about describing this thing that he can't explain, but I don't think it was obvious that it was color. I may be remembering that wrong.
Yeah, and because there, I know there's lots of restrictions like what they could do. I know they had to take these pills so that they wouldn't feel warm, loving emotions towards other people. I
Yeah.
remember that. And then he decided to like not take it, and that's what made him like rebel.
What was the thing that they would say when he would say something that was a clarification of language or specification of language or something like that? What was the
I
thing they would
don't,
say?
I don't remember that.
It was like when he would describe an emotion that they didn't know about, they would like, it was something where it's like it wasn't like in their vocabulary, so like they made him clarify it or some shit like that, or it was a word that he couldn't say, so then they said that it was fuck. What the hell was that?
I mean,
What did they say?
it's been so long since I've read it. I wouldn't remember.
But you've
I
also
sh-
read like Fahrenheit 451 too, and all those other dystopian kind of novels.
I have not read Fahrenheit 451. What is that about? Actually, I don't know.
It's about burning books, man. It's about a dystopian society about this. Hold on, wait. Let me make sure this is the right book before, dude. It's been for fucking ever. I think it's about like the whole point of the book is about censoring information. So it's like they burned a bunch of books. That's where like where that came from, burning books.
Oh, it's about like the Nazis and stuff like that, or like kind of like without out explicitly being about them.
I think that's what it was alluding. It was about fascism for sure. So I
Yeah.
mean, probably yeah, but it was about a guy that lived in a weird apartment and like something about being a firefighter, and then it was just talking about how it was super just strange to live in this time frame and just dude, I'm the fucking worst. I don't remember. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Oh
I guess
god.
the most dystopian thing I've ever read is either like The Giver or if you want to say Animal Farm, even though that's more of like a
Oh yeah, I remember Animal
that's like
Farm.
that's like more utopian, where it's just talking about like the
Well,
society and
that
how
was about communism, wasn't it?
yeah, it was. It's also been a long time since I've read that one.
I forgot about Animal
Um,
Farm. I had to read that for school.
yeah, we did too,
Oh,
dude. In middle school, we had to read a bunch of good books. Like Treasure Island, we got to read.
George Allen was good.
That was pretty good. That's where like all of like those pirate stereotypes come from.
Did you read To Kill a Mockingbird?
I did, yes.
That one was pretty sad. I didn't. That one made me uncomfortable, and it was because like in my English class, like a lot of the kids were fucking just read super slow. So my teacher always called on me to read. I don't know why, but like that book is
During
awkward to read in front of a class because they say the N word so fucking. It's like reading Tom
yeah,
Sawyer. It's just like
I know, and it's like
it's really strange.
yeah. I would be curious to go back and check that one out because I didn't. I thought it was like kind of I kind of looked at it as like this was good for its time because there hadn't been a book that had said something like that before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd like it a lot better whenever I read it again.
I think the worst books I've ever read, and also worst movies, was The Great Gatsby and Catcher in the Rye. I fucking hated those books.
I was okay. So a lot of these books that I was assigned to read in school, I never actually read them, but I just know what they're about because we would go
Yeah,
over it, right? So
yeah.
then I can be like, yeah, I read it. I know what it's about, even though I never really read it. The Great Gatsby was one of those.
Dude, you
Um,
didn't miss anything. It was so fucking boring. Like it was just like it's like if you like being a socialite, sure, you'd love that book, but like there's no depth in that fucking shit. It's basically like Hollywood gossip and just fucking like I don't know. It was just awful. It's just I hate like I'm trying to how do I put this? I hate like when it was the same problem with Catcher in the Rye. Like the main character was just super bitchy and just like you couldn't relate with him at all.
Catcher in the Rye, I never read that, nor do I know what it's about. All I know is that people hate it.
So it's about like a kid that's like he's like this pretentious like dick that is like he forced like he's like we were saying in the last podcast, he has protagonist syndrome, so it's like he just thinks he's better than everyone else and everyone's a phony and he just goes through life depressed. Like it's a fucking stupid book. And it's the thing with with John Lennon's killer, right?
What about it?
John
I mean,
Lennon's
like,
killer was influenced by Catcher in the Rye, and he thought that John Lennon was like the phony, fake people that this kid was talking about. So he just
oh, I
was
didn't know
inspired
that.
to kill John Lennon because of this stupid fucking book.
Good job, whoever wrote Catcher in the Rye. Woo!
I think J.D. Salinger wrote Catcher in the Rye, and he was like a he's super reclusive. He didn't like all the notoriety that he got from that book, so I think he just like became a hermit or something. So it's
How
like
long
he
ago was it written?
I don't know. Some I think in the 20th century it's sometime,
Okay.
which is really vague, but I don't know. But no, it was
For
just
some,
I hated both
like,
those fucking books.
for some reason, I always thought the Catcher in the Rye was like Chinese or something.
No.
Okay.
No, I think it
It's
was
like,
based in like New York City.
yeah, okay, okay, so it takes place like in America.
Yeah, same thing with Great Gatsby too.
Have you read Life of Pi?
I did. But it's been forever. I saw the movie too. I don't know. I
I love
like
the movie. I think the movie is fantastic. Like, even though there are some issues I have with the movie, I think it's overall like a really great cinematic experience. The book, um, I remember, obviously, I didn't read all of it, but because I was a stupid young kid who didn't want to read books for school, but I read some of it. I thought that it was kind of like the style is not, it's not conventional. It took a little bit to get used to, but I did like something better about the book than the movie. So, in the movie, he like at the end, like when he's in the hospital with the Japanese people and they're asking him questions, he gives them like an alternate story.
yeah.
But then like you have the guy just say like, "Oh, so you're the tiger, your mom's the zebra, this person's the tiger," and all that stuff. Like he just says it explicitly what it is. Remember?
It's been forever. I don't think I fucking do.
Yeah. Well, okay, but he just basically just explains the allegory of that, and I'm like, they could have just left that up to like the people to figure out what he meant by like how he was the tiger. But also, like I was saying in the book, what I liked better is that it did leave that up more to interpretation because a lot of people think that in the book he never actually was shipwrecked with a tiger. Like the tiger was just like his internal like just like bad side, like his rage that would come out sometimes too much, and it would like it would overtake him some like it like at times it would get to him and he would have these battles, because how he kept trying to tame the tiger throughout the story and he kept trying to suppress it and train it and have it do all these things and try to coexist with it and all this stuff.
See, that's what
But
I
at the
got
end
from the book too. I thought it was more just the metaphor.
yeah, but I mean there still is debate, whereas in the movie I think it is explicit that that is like what happened, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Except for like that part where he like goes to that island is kind of really trippy.
Yeah, the Life of Pi was one of those stories where it like interested me, but I didn't like feel any relation to it. I think, but it was nice. Like I also like reading stories about like stuff that I would never would think about, or like something of a completely different culture where I was super interested to know how they think. So I liked it from that perspective, but it was a little bit tough to obviously besides that metaphor, which most people can pick up on and relate to more than others. But I think like it just didn't like. I think it's because like it was like the exoticness of where everything was taking place is what I enjoyed about it, or like learning like a new custom kind of thing, more opposed to just enjoying the story for what it was.
For Life of Pi, you're saying?
Yeah,
Well, I thought the internal rage and just turmoil was really brought out well by that guy's performance. I thought he was excellent in that movie.
yeah.
Like you felt his pain, his rage, like his sadness, like everything. I thought he gave like his all, and that was his first movie.
That was his first. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no, he did such
Yeah.
a good job.
There's a lot of those actors that just come out of nowhere and just fucking do their first movie and just blow it out of the water.
And also, I don't know if you've seen any of the behind the scenes, but the movie is so well made. Like all of the scenes in the ocean with the boat, it's really good filmmaking.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it a lot. I liked the visuals of it. I liked.
Yeah, and it's really calming. Like the way that a lot of the movie is kind of just, it's not trippy, I hesitate to say, but it's more so just like dreamy and like
Yeah, it's
in a
very
sense.
dreamy.
Yes, but it's not in a sort of like detached from reality trippy kind of sense, you know?
I
It
think
just
it
feels it's like kind of storybook, but also like
it's
how
mystical.
it
You
how
feel a little bit elevated by
mis
being a part of the
yeah,
story.
mystical, elevated, kind of like there's this thing. I don't know if there's any way you could put it into words. It's like that Happy Feet, like you know how he goes like to the
Fucking happy
other.
feet.
Well, no, Happy Feet I think is really good. But
Man.
you know how like it's just about like that those large, just broad views and like that kind of atmosphere of just like those huge views, those like abysses, those like how you it makes you feel small and like you're just in this huge world that surrounds you. You know, like Happy Feet is also kind of like that. Like it just kind of it's that transportation kind of thing, which I love when the stuff I'm consuming gives me that feeling, like in Tool or like in Life of Pi, like I'm saying, or Happy Feet and whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that transportation. I'm just being taken to the corners of like the universe kind of thing, you know.
And I think to me that's the part of any artistry that is super impressive, and like it's the secret sauce, man. It's just the spice of life, and I
Secret sauce, man. Like, cause everybody wants to say something, you know. Everybody
yeah.
is dying to say something, you know.
To me it's frustrating because like I like as myself like I've been into, there's one point in my life where I wanted to do art or visual design, and there's a point in my life where wanted to try painting or try writing a story, or obviously music is what I stuck with, but like I've never done anything to where I feel like it can transcend anything. Like I feel like all the stuff I've done has been pretty surface level, and it's frustrating because there's a bunch of
Same
stuff that
thing with
gives me
me. Yeah.
inspiration, and it's just I can't like tap into it myself, and it's like it's been like chasing the dragon for years, and it's super frustrating. But it's always something to look forward to. Like I can look back one day and be like, I finally got that elevated emotion, or like I was taken to a different place consciously, and I just elevated myself by creating something, and I just haven't gotten to there yet. But
Oh, did you like my poem?
about the sea,
Yeah.
I did. I'm blanking on what it what it said, but I did remember liking it.
I mean, hey, you could pull up the lyrics now.
Did you make lyrics to it, or was it a video?
I mean, it's written in the video.
Oh, it's written in the video. Why don't you
Yeah.
fucking read it to me and explain it? Why don't you, little class project, suppose have me just
Um.
awkwardly read it to you since you're the one that wrote it?
Yeah, I could do that.
William.
Um. Okay, I'll read it to you guys now. There I stood in the presence of the sea, hoping something would come to me. Something good or something bad, it did not matter what it had, only that something would come to me. Solely from the abyss had I longed for the sea, the abyss from which we all wish to flee, the one without triad, the one without glad, the abyss that many of us end up to be. Waiting and waiting, I gazed at the sea, hoping something, anything, would eventually come to me. The waves did make me happy, but also quite sad. Was there anything before that I even had? I wanted no more than to melt and plea.
When you wrote it, did you get like
No, I wasn't finished. Sorry,
Why'd you pause then?
because I had to see the thing to like see what the next like stanza was. Sorry. The
Okay.
more and more I searched in the sea, something indeed did come to me, an entity, an icon. I could not decipher what it had. All I could do was admire like a lad. It was not until now that I finally began to see. Out there on the horizon revealed a figure split in three. He was three, but also one. It just all made sense to me. I felt nothing of being mad, nor anything of being sad. It was a feeling I never felt before. I simply felt free.
Yeah, I did like it. I like giving like very, because like in your mind, like what was the, obviously like you have something that was super visual and emotional in your head when you describe something that is what you're longing for, and a lot of people kind of attribute that to being like looking out at the horizon, or it's that sense of longing. At least that's what I feel when I look out into the ocean. So it's like, what did you visually have in your head when you were describing that thing that came to you?
Well, I mean, I was honestly curious to know first what you thought.
I don't get the split in three thing.
Um, I thought knowing me, you'd know what it was.
Oh, okay. So that's what you related it to, the Trinity.
Yeah, right. And that's why, like, because I don't want to necessarily just tell you that, but obviously you kind of could figure it out. But
Well, I mean, if like
basically,
I was reading it basically like I mean I didn't really attribute it to religion, but like if someone didn't know you and just like was reading that, I was curious to know like what they would come up with in their head, like looking at like something like
yeah,
split in three. And I mean obviously it's super
right,
internal, but that's what I was just curious about. But yeah, I mean concretely, yeah, it makes sense.
right. But also, like, I tried to write it in a way so that, like, even if you aren't in that bubble, like, you could still look at, like, listen to that and be like, oh, what is that? That sounds cool, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like,
No.
what is this figure that he's talking about that he sees at, like, the, because the whole thing is like I was talking about how, like, the character was in the abyss and he's just so glad that he's out and he's just been on this journey. And when you finally get to the end of the journey, which is like the shore leading to the sea, like you're waiting for something, you know, like you're like there has to be something in the horizon, something on like the like in out there in the water waiting for me, you know, like what is it?
Yeah, so that's I mean that's the same like I said the same sense of longing that I feel when I do look out. But like for me like it's never been like the end of the journey. It's always just like it's like a temptress, and you know meaning that as a double entendre. But like you know like looking out like there is something that isn't completed. There is something that you're missing or something that's out there, or like new horizons, new beginnings, yada yada yada. But but it's also like a piece to it. So it's like you're gonna get to that spot, but it's like that's what you and I think that's the whole point is like you get to that place where you have to do a little bit of reflection to like looking back to go forward if it's productive. But I do like looking out into the ocean for that reason. Like I pretty much feel that every time. That's why I enjoy doing it, especially listening to music, because I feel like it's just you know I feel it's the next evolutionary step. And I always visualize like I can't visualize specifically things that I'm longing for. So it's like if I was to write you know a version of your poem of the sea, like I wouldn't have a concrete thing. I would have like something like you know like muted colors, or I related to something that just like is like a spike of an unknown emotion, or something that's just like an overwhelming, but like it's nothing that has a physical form or shape. It's just something that's more of a revelation.
Yeah. Well, so I didn't really have it in mind that it was going to be that specifically, but when I was writing this, I just knew like, all right, I need something of like I had the idea like this guy's looking out into the sea and he's looking for something because he knows something's going to be there waiting for him, but he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know when it's going to happen,
Yeah,
and he doesn't know like he does not none of the details regarding that. That's all I really had in mind.
I wrote
And the
something kind of
sorry,
similar back in the not similar like in that context, but like I never wrote poetry. I wrote more like short stories. I wrote a story about like a dude that he ended up like fucking storm happened, and then he was just clinging to like a wooden piece of the ship, and he's just out in the middle of the ocean with nothing around, and it's like super calm. There's no waves, there's no clouds, it's just blue, blue, and blue. And he like comes across this like floating raft, and there's like I really like visualize in my head of like you know like the island of Crete, where it's like a bunch of like red and blue pillars, and like there's a bunch of like
yeah,
destroyed columns. So it's like a fragment of that city was just floating in the middle of the ocean. And like there were just these like people that were standing on the middle of the raft, and like they're actors, so they would perform different scenes of this dude's life that have been like awful, and like all the ones that have been good. So it's like he got to see and relive all the stuff that he's been through, and then he eventually just you know the thing disappears and he just dies. And then like he's just left with the fact that like he's not going to have anything new. He only can like relive a little bit of his past before he goes, kind of thing. So like I had a lot of really like just like stupid like dead end depressing stories like that.
I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, so like I kind of and I wrote like some fables too, but it's just I don't know, like I again it was a lot more. I could get that emotion in my head, but like physically recreating it just didn't do anything for me, so it just kind of
Yeah.
stopped.
I'm writing another one, which I hope to get out soon. It's
Want to do a little
called
sneaky peeky?
it's called The Desert.
The deserts.
I have some of it written down. I don't know if I would want to share it right now, but
Let's do when you're done. Is it like a another poem or another short story?
it's another poem. It's like the sequel to The Sea.
The sea and the desert. Is there going to be called the swamp? Since you're from
And
the
it just has a
bayou.
oh no, when I hear the swamp, I think of like the like you know how people refer to like Capitol Hill as the swamp.
I mean, DC is technically built on the swamp. That's why they say it. Um,
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
yeah. That's why it's fucking muggy as fuck up there, dude.
What
So muggy.
other right? I'm trying to think of other kind of like biomes. I guess I just know that from Minecraft.
Biometry.
From Minecraft. Oh yeah. But okay, what? I'm just thinking of other kind of environments. Like there's what else I could do? I could do
There's
like,
snowy mountains. You can talk about that.
but that doesn't have the same ring to it. Like the Snowy Mountains. That's a shitty name. But like,
The
but
natural skyscrapers.
like the concrete jungle.
The concrete jungle.
That's better, but it's still not great. The tundra. I could do something about that.
Okay.
Um,
It's
the
vast and open
forest.
like a sea in a desert.
Yep, the forest, the cave, the what else is there? Yeah, there's the mountains, there's the jungle, there is the lake, the ocean.
You gonna hit, you gonna hit all the climates and time zones.
Oh yeah, we got to hit them all. No, okay, I'm probably not going to do this, but yeah.
Do you eventually?
Um
I mean, obviously you're just doing it for fun, but do you eventually want to get things published or like put them out somewhere for people to look at? I
if
mean,
people
obviously
like
besides YouTube.
if people like it, sure.
Interesting.
Like if people are like, I want to have a collection of Will Zeldin's poetry, I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll get it out.
It definitely would be a more productive use to like put it in the sense of song lyrics or a concept album or anything like that.
I mean, hey, if you ever want to use any of this stuff for your music, you can go ahead.
I'm gonna steal your IP, bro.
Well, no, you better like credit me as the guy who wrote your lyrics.
Ghostwrite that shit.
No.
um, yeah,
Ah,
no, I know. I mean, having this conversation kind of makes me really want to get back into it because I feel like I'm like missing a piece of myself because it was a big deal for me back in the day,
I didn't
and
know that.
yeah, it was. I was. I'm a lot more. I was a lot more fucking refined back then than I am now. I feel like I'm regressing. I really do.
Oh, I didn't know that. But are you talking
I
about just in that specific writing field or just in general?
in life, man, in just
Oh,
fucking
because
everything.
dude, I think I'm getting more refined as time goes on. I mean, I'm still not great, obviously, in anything I do. Like my videos are still really not that good. My actual like how I speak is still really bad. I still sound really young and immature, and I fucking hate it. Um,
I'm with you, man. I used to be a lot
also,
better.
right. Also, like my guitar, I still can. I'm learning and I'm getting better, but I'm still not that good. You know, if you know what I'm saying.
I think if you have a discipline of anything, it helps you just smooth the edges out as a
Well,
person. But I don't know. I mean, there is a lot of reference to just reading or just having perseverance to do things or just trying to learn a new skill or just go back into the things that made you stronger as a person. Like I can't think of another thing besides music back in the day that I really had any connection to. Like I didn't have any connection to my parents or to any of the sports that I played or anybody I went to school with, and nobody that was really close to. So it was almost like it was like my hidden identity, man. Like I viewed the world from this observant lens, and it just amplified
that
that when I
was
read so.
sorry. Yeah, that was kind of me too. Like I would just write poems when like I was like on lunch break or something in high school, like in back at like New Orleans high school.
Did you have like a um not like a like I mean I assume like did you feel like you're like the odd one out or like you didn't really have like a
Oh
specific
yeah.
thing to belong to?
Oh, definitely, dude. I was fucking miserable over there, man.
Were you really?
Oh yeah, dude. You wouldn't believe it.
Did you
I mean,
get
haven't we
bullied?
talked about this?
I don't think so. I mean I know
For
you said that you got like into like a thing where you didn't want to move up here and like you're kind of going back and forth, but I don't think you ever talked about like going through school.
all right, because like I had friends, but like not all of them went to the same high school as I did.
Yeah, same with me.
Right. I mean, for lack of a better term, yeah, I kind of was bullied, but it doesn't really matter anymore.
What were you bullied for? Just being an outsider?
Yeah, I like to sing and dance, which that never goes well with douchebag fucking
Got it.
assholes who
I'm
I
I'm piecing it together now.
hate.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to sing and dance. Like, you know how I am. You know how I speak. You know how I just, my mannerisms are. I'm
Yeah.
not a college frat boy. Like, I'm a pretty weird dude. And I have a lot of weird niche interests that to these dipshit assholes, they're just going to think it's lame because everything is just lame. You know, like, oh, it's fucking lame. I'm like, no, you're retarded. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry. Like, and also, like, I mean, I was never good at sports. Like, even when I tried wrestling, I sucked at it. So, you know.
I yeah, and obviously like being more open about that kind of stuff makes it difficult. I never was bullied. Like all the fights I was supposed to be in or people that mess with me, like I always just talk my way out of shit. Like I knew how to talk to people back then to where it was never a problem. I also wasn't like super open. Like I wouldn't barely talk to anybody. Or if I did, like I was just like joking around or being like the class clown. Like I really didn't like show myself to people. So it's like all the interests that I had that most people weren't interested to, I never like brought to school. Like I didn't read books at school. I didn't even listen to music at school. I didn't like draw anything or write anything. Like I did all that shit at home. I just at school I was just bored as fuck and just sat there. Like I didn't really like just socialize or just get into the whole culture of it. But I feel like if I did, I probably would be bullied or have more of a problem. But I don't know. Like I wasn't really like good at sports, but like I could hold my own against other people that were more massive than I was playing football. So it was fine. Like I had friends from that, and like most of the people on the football team were pretty protective. Like they weren't assholes. So it's like nobody really fucked with me just from that because I was always hanging out with the football kids. Um,
Nice.
but yeah,
Yeah,
like
weren't you?
I probably would have
Sorry.
hated you in high school. Like you probably would have really annoyed me in high school. Like I didn't like the theater kid eccentric trope because they're really dramatic.
No, I hesitate to call myself a theater kid
Well, not like
because
a
I'm
theater
not.
kid, but like someone that's really open about like artistic stuff like that. Like it probably would have annoyed me in high school.
No, I'm very open of like my artistic interests in all these different fields. Like right, like we talked about movies, music, all this stuff. You
Yeah.
know, but like to a lot of just dipshit assholes that I went to school with, that's not interesting because what they're interested in is just nonsense that doesn't even matter anymore.
Right.
Like from a young age, I could tell that like there was shit that just like lasts long and fulfills you as opposed to shit that just like you forget about like in a few weeks, you know.
Well, it just depends. Like you can get either of those feelings from anything. It just depends if you're genuine about it or not.
I wish you could put it that way.
But
But you do see what I'm saying though, right?
yeah, I mean that just goes like with my point of having standardized education. You're getting a bunch of people that don't mesh together, and you're making them do the same fucking thing, and they wonder why they go spiral or go out of control because like everybody's not meant to do the same thing. Like if you had that more of a specialized where you're around kids that had more of that drive or that more autistic ambition or like were like you in that way, it wouldn't have ever been a problem. Than the other people that were into the more physical stuff or the more
Well,
um,
I mean, a lot of this just comes from that like my family is just not we're a lot different than just like average Joe people. And that doesn't mean we're better or worse than anybody.
do you
But
mean you're more sophisticated? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean in certain aspects, but there's also things that we're not sophisticated in. But a big thing is just like because of how like mixed we are, like ethnically, so to speak, I just feel like my parents don't really necessarily fit into any category, and neither have I really. I've always kind of felt that like I never really had that. I mean, at times I've had it, but it's never stuck with me long term until like I've gotten here in Virginia. But yeah, I mean that's just kind of how it is, and that's why I kind of always just felt like I mean obviously not like an outsider, but it was just like I just I'm just like I don't really understand why these people think like that, or I can see how I think this way, and my family's like this, but why is not everyone like this? You know, because I was just questioning things like that as a little kid.
I mean, I think it's natural. I think if you're just in a position all the time to where you don't feel like you're belong to any sort of thing. That's just what your brain just kind of fills in the gaps. And I still feel like that now. Like I'm not really sophisticated as a person, but I still feel like I just don't really connect with anybody really. Like there's
Yeah.
nobody that I can talk to where it's just like I really resonate with that. And not I mean I'm not saying that to like brag, but like I hate it. Like I hate like not connecting with a lot of people, or just like I mean just being cynical. Just most of the time people just don't say what they mean anyway, so it's just like there's no point in listening to the bullshit. But I don't know, I don't like,
Yeah, people are just not honest, man. Like,
it's not even that, it's just like that I
it
hate
kind of is
people.
though. I
Well, I
mean,
mean, on the surface level, like there's always reasons for things, but just like
yeah, right, yeah,
even if people like wholeheartedly believe something, it also just
yeah.
irritates me too on that level, because like it's especially if it's something that's really fucking stupid, or if it's something that's just dangerous. Like those people are even worse than the people that make up stuff. The people that actually believe things, especially the crazy
It's
things they believe.
you know that famous Obi-Wan line? He goes, "Who's more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?" It's that shit, dude.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, not the
Who is
victim
more
blame, but it's
foolish?
usually the fool
Who do
that
you think?
follows him.
Yeah, right.
Because I mean, that
Uh,
goes to anything like with cults. It's like that's their prime target is people that are super desperate, and I mean, it's just people that are less social or more socially inept, and that's kind of fucked up to say, but it's true. Like you talk to the people that have gotten involved in cults, and you listen to them how they were back then versus all the revelations that they've learned, and they're completely different people. So it's like that's why it's important to honestly be an outsider, because you don't want to get sucked in. There's
I'm,
so much bullshit to get sucked into.
I'm sure a lot of people would say that about me.
What do you mean?
Like revelations of being a different person.
What do you mean? Like revelations of being what? Like different in how?
Oh, like just in terms of like my personality, like what I value,
Oh,
all that
like you
stuff.
being different from them being okay, I see.
Yeah.
So, I
Um,
mean, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking matter as long as it's like productive to you and it's productive to them. Like, they're both can exist and it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really fucking matter. It only matters just socially. Like, if you feel like you have no one to connect to, or if you like you notice like tendencies in other people that are destructive, or if you just find them annoying, but it doesn't actually have a consequence. So it's like you just have to look at shit like that. Like, is there an actual reason, or is it just something that's just irritating? And most of
I
the time,
got
it's
you.
just irritating.
Yeah, man. I just remember being annoyed so much when I was in New Orleans because I mean, I just felt like a fucking doomer, man. You know,
Doomer
being a
zoomer.
being a doomer zoomer is not fun, man. Just that emptiness and just like the fucking nothing and the nihilism and just oh, I'm so
What
glad I'm
was
out
the
of it
thing that
now.
kind of got you out of that? Like, what just made you realize that that wasn't like super important, or just made you focus on more productive things?
Um, it was either. I mean, I guess I have to credit like Jesus, but I guess like a big thing that it was besides that. I mean, obviously, I have to credit that as much as I can, but a lot of it was just working at McDonald's and just having like something where like I couldn't stay up like till 2 playing video games, something like that. If you see what I'm saying.
Every time you use it as like a, it's just strange to me because everybody that I've known that works at McDonald's fucking just loathes it. It's really funny.
Well, I mean, for me, it goes to show how much people like don't realize how much shit there is in something like McDonald's, because um, and how much they actually contribute to society by like giving someone like place to start out where like they have some responsibility. You got to do shit that you don't want to do all the time, but you still can progress to an extent. And obviously, it gets to the point where it's like what you can learn is just no more. It's obsolete, but you can still have that good start, and it can teach you good lessons of like communications and like being um like being obedient to your boss and like just doing what you got to do. Being reliable is another big thing. Showing someone like I'm coming in whenever you tell me to. Like I'm not gonna miss. Just whenever I'm scheduled, I'm coming in, and I want to just come in every time because I want to be reliable. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's principles that help you in the right context. And obviously, there's a lot to learn when you're in a shitty situation. I just think it's funny
Yeah.
that most people don't credit that to those kinds of experiences, which is kind of funny. But
Also
no,
for
I think it's
me,
true. I think you're
sorry,
right.
sorry. Yeah, and just like it changed me from like the I need to go and hang out with someone to feel like I'm doing something, as opposed to like, oh, I can just be working and I can feel like I'm doing something, you know?
Yeah, and I think
Because
like most
sure,
people, like a lot of people never really get to that spot where they don't look at the things they're doing as something that you can like progress and learn from, or something that you can take into a different context and grow. I think most people just look at it as a waste of time, and it's easy to get into that mindset. But I mean, you look at the
sure,
most successful people, and like, I mean, obviously a lot of them had a lot of help, but I mean, it does take a certain amount of psychopathy to drive yourself to work to that standard to just make you succeed. Like, there is an insanity to it, but just, not even just, climbing that sort of success ladder, just being able to be content in your life is the biggest challenge. So it's like having the right work ethic to not just make you go overboard is even tough enough.
yeah. When you said psychopathy, I wanted to go
I know you fucking did.
psychopathy.
And as soon as I said it, I was like, God damn it. I know he's going to do it.
Don't you dare point that at me. That's a
I
great
really would
song.
have hated you in high school.
Um, are you sure you don't hate me now?
We'll see how this goes. Ask me again in an
Yeah,
hour. Um,
I don't know,
no,
man, because I
no, no,
I feel
no.
like I feel like I'm one of those people where like you like me initially, but then you realize, oh, this guy's really fucking narcissistic.
You think
Fuck
you're
this guy.
narcissistic?
Yeah. I
do
don't.
you really?
I mean, I think I'm the person where like other people would think I am.
See, I don't think you're narcissistic. I think you're ethnocentric.
I'm what you said?
Ethnocentric.
I'm ethnocentric in what, like Judaism?
No, like in just in life, like you have like an ethnocentric way of life, but also just with like a
What does
bunch of
that
like
what does that
your
mean though?
culture is the thing that's the most important, or the one that's right. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have like your
Well,
way of life is like the way that things are supposed to be, as opposed to like other cultures and other ways of life. It's a
oh, not
fucking
not necessarily like something that's tied to a specific ethnicity, but just like way of life is like what matters, I guess.
So, like, I guess like an official definition, yes, but I mean it more like, yeah, you have like ethnocentric like views about things, just but not in the context of ethnicity all the time, I think I should say. But I don't think you're narcissistic.
Um, well, I mean, a lot of people that would think that, I mean, like I can understand why. I mean, but there's the other thing. I'm like, why do you give a shit what I'm saying? Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm just like what am I like how am I threatening you? I'm not doing anything to you. Like you
Well,
could just not listen to me.
I think
I'm not
like
the one making the rules. Like seriously.
I think most
So
people just don't like having dissent. Like they want to feel related to. They want to feel like the stuff they say is right. And because like I guess it's most of the time people that don't get that from their friends, family, significant other, whatever have you. So anytime, and you can be like as respectful as you can about it, but it's just that just natural reaction to just fucking pull back because you're not being accepted. I think it's just more of an acceptance thing. But yeah, and I'm of the same vein. Like I could give a shit really if people, if I say something and then somebody disagrees with it, I don't really care. And not like
yeah,
oh, I don't
and
care.
like
Like I genuinely like I think it's good to have disagreements with people. If it how do I put it? If
yeah, I
it's
mean,
productive, you know what I mean? Like
right,
I
we've
don't
had a
feel the
lot of
need to
those.
be
Yeah.
right in every context, or like I like having people that don't agree with me. I think it's
Right,
interesting. I think it's
because
fun.
there's a certain like humility that you need to have when like when you're dabbling like in a topic that you might not have footing in,
Yeah.
you know.
No, yeah, you need to
Which
have
I
humility in
I'm
life in
I'm
general.
guilty of that, of not having it, I could say. But like you said, like the like not like who could give less of a shit of like what it's like that's the thing is like when people ask me like, "Oh, you think X thing is wrong?" I'm like, "Yeah." And like what how is that like what is that doing to you? Nothing. I'm not the one making the rules, so why do you care?
Yeah, I think, and this is what I truly believe. Like, if like you, because you can have disagreements with people about things that don't matter. You can have disagreements about things that really matter, and but I think if you don't have the capacity to change anything, if you're just there to bitch, then it honestly, like, their opinion doesn't matter. And I mean that wholeheartedly, because I mean, objectively, it doesn't matter at all if they can't change anything. So there's no point anyway. But just subjectively, it's like, what's the point of ruining relationships with people that you disagree with if none of you can make the situation better? Like, you're fighting over nothing. You're fighting about shit you can't control.
Yeah, man, we're fighting over the taquitos from 7-Eleven.
And like, people are like, oh, I actually am doing something. I'm raising awareness, or I'm raising money, or I'm marching. It's like, you're not doing dick. Like,
Don't give that fucking
yeah.
bullshit. No, you're not. That's why I don't do any of that shit. Like activism is something that is very much like like how do you say, like it's actively discouraged by the church. Like that is not a virtuous
Well, I think that's for a
thing of
different reason.
doing.
The church, I mean, by nature, wouldn't want something that's rebellious or reformative.
No, no, but like even no, but you don't have to be like rebellious to be doing activism. Like you can do
Reformative,
peaceful
I should say.
protests.
Rebellious was the wrong word. I think I just mean
Right.
reformative.
Yeah, because you can be doing peaceful protests and stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, look at the history of this country. Like, you look at any sort of social change. Like, I mean, not really so much like the marches and the protests, but it was more of like the violence, or just like the unsettledness, or specific actions like bombings or assassinations or riots. Like, those are great incentives to have reform, right? So it's like, for stuff like that, then yeah, I mean, it does actually have change, but I don't think it's ever going to be permanent, and it's never going to be good change in the right direction. I feel like it's just microcosms of, okay, this is probably a better step, and then there's a bunch of other bullshit that trumps it. So I don't know, like, you look at throughout history, like civil rights, women's suffrage, all that stuff, like, none of that would have changed if people just bitched about it and didn't do anything about it, obviously. But I feel like in these days, most people just fucking bitch about it, or they feel like spreading awareness is the only thing that matters, or their riots are unfucking focused, and it just hurts the community as opposed to making the government scared. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so,
Right. Because it's
it's
so weird. Like
paradoxically stupid.
right, but it's so weird that we're talking about like these same fucking issues that were issues like 5, 6 years ago. You know, it's like what
It's been issues
happened?
forever, man. Since, like,
Yeah, it's
this
like
is not new shit.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, what? Like it's like you're saying, like the people still complaining. It's like, well, why has nothing been done yet? If you guys are still doing it,
I think there's a difference in, like, bureaucracy or a bureaucratical change and like a social change, because, like, you ask like 90% of people, the majority of them are against the government. I mean, that's just,
oh yeah,
I could comfortably say that. So it's like, I feel like it's two separate things. Like, I feel like stuff against what the government does is different than like all the social things that people fight about. But again, I mean, they do coincide, but most of it doesn't really affect our life on the small scale unless you ruin your relationships with your family and friends over it.
right, yeah.
But I don't know. I just look at it like, I don't give a fuck anymore, man. Like, any awful shit that happens, school shootings, fucking abortion, inflation, murder.
Yeah, but
It's
like
just like, whatever.
the other thing is like you don't realize how much shit just is changing constantly. You know, like
Yeah,
how I'm.
it's too
I wish
much.
I talked about this. How like me and you are we have changed. We are different people having done this podcast. You know.
In terms of just in general, or like socially.
Yeah, both. Like our perspectives are broadened. Our actual friendship is strengthened in a way, and how we have just we've been enlightened, so to speak.
Well, that's why I think it's so important, because like, I don't feel like anything comes off as disingenuous, because like, there's shit that we agree about and there's shit that we don't agree about, and it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm saying, I feel like you have to have that with people. Like, you don't want somebody you agree with all the time or you disagree with all the time. Like, you have to have that balance.
Unless, no, I'm not going to talk about that.
Unless what? You want to go there?
No, I'm not talking about that. I, I don't even think you know what I'm talking about, but that's the thing. I'm
I
just gonna
think I
leave
know
it
you're
there
talking about,
because
but I don't want to go there right now.
yeah, let's talk about that off camera.
Oh, God.
Um
Fucking Christ.
yeah, but like I mean just seeing my house today like completely clean and spotless, it was nice. I'm like, yeah, you could always give something away. There's always some shit to do. Like there's always some shit to do, Because the second you tell yourself there's no shit to do, that's like when everything is gonna go downhill.
I feel like you have to have no shit to do sometimes, though. You got to reset.
Well, obviously, but like, um, when you say that too much, I guess.
I wonder. It always makes me think of when we talk about stuff like this. It's just like how much of it is actually beneficial and how much of it is blowing off steam. So it's like there's times where like I'll have conversations with people or like stuff that we talk about on the podcast and like I'll listen back to it. It's just like, huh, I didn't really mean it when I said that way, or it's like I wish I would have expanded on that more. Like there's sometimes where I feel like it's like when I'm talking about something that really interests me or if I'm learning a new perspective, like it's super different in the moment than it is upon reflection.
Yeah,
And
like
it almost
in
is
the
like,
moment, yeah, you would want to like you said this, but you're like, yeah, looking back, like, I don't really know why I said
yeah,
that.
it's just like I feel it right now, but like I won't apply it to anything further in my life.
Right, and that's what makes me think of like how consequential is this podcast? You know?
Again, I think it's consequent. Like, I mean, obviously, like we're social animals. Like, we need to communicate, and if you find something where you enjoy communicating, I think it's good for your mental health at the very least. But again, it's also like learn new things. Like, there's a bunch of shit. Obviously, for people listening, I don't know how informative it is because there's like, oh, it's been so long since I remember this, or it's a very vague description, and I go, oh, I don't quite remember how this thing went down. So there's a lot of just scratching the surface on the stuff that we talk about for the most part. Even though like in my head, it's like a vast array of knowledge. There's just it's too much. It's too
Yeah,
much
like
knowledge.
even like the central topic of this podcast, which was about the Cuban music, we could have talked about that. I'm sure for like if we listened to this thing for like like multiple times, we could have talked about it for like hours. You know?
Yeah, and it's just with time because like for me, like I said, it's not something I'm used to, so I can only talk about it for so much until I just run out of stuff to say.
Right. And well, also for me, this was not like one of. I mean, I love it. It wasn't like one of my favorites, but it was not the one that like I was kind
Are you
of
talking about the recommendation or the one we're currently doing?
um the one that we just did. Like that's the one I'm talking about. Where like there were some other things I wanted to recommend it to you, but I'm like I'll give him this because it's like the best like
Okay, so the
introduction to
recommend. I
this
thought you
thing.
meant talking about like the podcast topics or just the recommendation. Okay.
No. I was talking about like the compilation of Cuban music I sent you.
I see. Yeah, I mean, but
Yeah.
that's the other thing too, because I like now like if somebody asks me, I have a new perspective on it, or like I can like recommend songs, or like people can recommend me songs, and I can know what I'm going into. So it's like that's the whole point of doing shit like this. And I don't know. I feel like people are less social about it. Like it's either just a circle jerk or it's just a straight up fight, and there's really nothing in between. I don't know.
Dude, do you think?
I've always hated that two extremes of everything.
Yeah, that's really bad. Because we, like you said, we need discourse
Yeah.
in human societies. You know, like this. Do you know like the Socratic kind of style of speaking in a group of people?
You asked me 2 years ago, I would have said yes, but I don't know.
So, all right, the Socratic style of speaking is where someone essentially just gets to just say their opinion without interruptions, and whenever they stop, they just give the go to someone else to say, and then the other person does the same thing, and the cycle continues. So basically, there's no interruptions. Everyone just gets to say their like whatever they want.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I
So
mean, it kind of can get a little bit orchestrated, but yeah, I mean, it's better than just fucking cutting each other off and just like never progressing into a conversation because you can't get past like the first issue that you're trying to debate about. So, in a way, like I don't know, like there's always this divide where it's like there should be no discourse if you're debating against somebody that's an expert in their field, but the whole point to me of being tentative, whether that's science or history or any sort of major thing that we're going through, especially if the problem never gets fixed, like there's always going to be the same problem, but people are arguing about what that problem is, or if they're trying to protect the status quo, you know? So
yeah.
there's always that line of like, is there a useful debate or is it just going to be a contrarian to the main thing? But I don't know. I think it just depends on what you're talking about. But I don't like this idea that we can't question anything just because we're not an expert in it. Like I feel like because like there's even sometimes where it's like even people that aren't experts, like they'll bring up a question that some people that are experts haven't thought of, and then they'll explore that into a different vein. So it's like even if it's total bullshit and it's misinformation, there's always something you can take away from it and then relook into. And I had a specific example as before I said this, and it fucking just lost me now, and I'm super irritated. Holy fuck. Fuck.
Do you think that we will
Mm.
run out of things to say on the podcast?
Right now, or just in
No,
general?
like
No, because the
later on.
world's
Yeah,
always changing. We're always pretty current about events and pretty topical, and we're not ever
that's
going to run out of
true.
music to
Yeah.
talk about for sure. So I don't think so.
Oh fuck no. Yeah.
So no,
Um,
not really. If we do what we're doing, I don't think we're ever going to run out of shit to talk about.
dude, we could literally just do an episode where it's our second listening of Hecho en Cuba, Volume One.
Do a little revisit. Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, dude. What about like later on? We could do a revisit of something, and we could be like, "What do we think of these albums now?" You know,
Yeah,
like a year later or something. I don't know.
I do want to do that to some of them.
That could be
I think
cool. Yeah.
there's a lot more music now. I think too. Because I'm trying to think based off of. I mean, not like based off of views, but there are like certain like artists and topics that bring in more views. So it's just kind of like throwing a bone every now and again and doing those. But
Yeah.
also like it's also just keeping in the same just sort of interest, like not just shilling out, but just doing something that people would actually enjoy listening to. Because it's weird the way that I don't know if it's just because it's the way that YouTube works now. It's like there's no dislikes anymore, but I feel like I mean not
That's
that many. Like
stupid. I'm
there's
like
been no comments on any of them, have there?
on the videos, some of
Yeah,
them. On
on
some of
these
my other
ones.
videos, I get comments. I don't know about the podcast, but dude, our Slipknot episode got 184 views.
Shooting big. It's almost a
Dude,
it's almost a lecture hall.
oh yeah. Dude, I mean, I just want like for anyone listening to this right now, like please just like I want to know what you think. Like I just want constructive criticism of my podcast.
Watch them all fucking hate you.
Yeah, I know. Like Will's a fucking stupid narcissist with a
Would that
stupid haircut.
would that like how bad would that affect you if like if you found out like a bunch of people just like didn't like it? Like would that really like ruin your day?
I'm sure there's already tons of people that don't like it. I'm sure there's tons of people that think the music I play is really shit. I think there's a lot of people that probably thought my poem was really cringe. I'm sure
Well,
there's
no,
tons of.
I'm sure. But I'm saying like, does it affect you?
I mean, I don't hear it personally, so I don't really know. I mean, yes, it would affect me, but like, I mean, I could probably get over it in like a few minutes. It's like whatever. It's like it's like when you see any like opinion or whatever on social media that's like stupid. You're like, that's like it makes you feel bad, but then you're like, and you just leave it, and then you go on and you move on and do something else that's more important, like, and then you just forget about it, you know?
Well, that's good that it wouldn't like ruin your life because some people
Well,
just cannot
no,
handle like not getting accepted or like just cannot handle criticism
no, it
whatsoever.
wouldn't. It wouldn't. That's like no. I mean, obviously, yeah, I would be affected by it, but I would probably just get over it because it's like at the end of the day, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy writing poems. I enjoy making music. I enjoy doing all these different things, you know? So
Yeah.
that's what
No.
I'm going to keep doing. I was looking back at some of my old videos. I was like, man, I actually put a lot of craftsmanship into these. Like my one about what is the easiest language to learn for an English speaker. I thought I was actually really liking it. I need to get back and making more videos like that.
See, those are the ones I thought would get more views. The informative ones that you do.
They do have more views actually.
Oh, do
My
they?
first
Like,
my first video is actually my still my most viewed video.
how many's on there?
227.
Okay, so not that much more.
My easiest language to learn for an English speaker is 128. Dude, there's a time where like oh, actually no, I'm wrong. My Jewish song that I played on the guitar and made a video of it that has 383. So yeah.
It'd be really fun if we do this for like 5 years and like it never breaks like 500 views and like we just have like thousands of videos that like just barely anyone watches and there's no comments. We're just like floating in the ether. Actually, it'd be really
Yeah,
fun. I kind of want to.
but
That'd be really
then
funny if that happens.
and then it's like 20 years later when the world is like in a fucking apocalypse, they find this thing. It's
Yeah,
like this is what was happening before. It's just
because
some random shit where we're talking about Cuban music and Joey Diaz eating a taco.
I was like I would have a feeling if there's a couple people that like this. Like, how many people would be on YouTube for like years and never grow an audience? They just do it for fucking ever, and there's like no comments. There's like no progression. They just do the same shit over and over again. I'm sure
It's
there's at
so
least a couple channels that
sad.
are like
Do you
that.
know? Oh, I think there's more than a couple.
Yeah, but
Like
at
there's
least
probably a
those
lot.
kind of channels at least have some sort of like interaction or like some sort of cult following or at least some like small community of people that just like religiously watch them. But like I'm saying, like to just never have any of that. It just like stays the same constantly for like 5 years. It'd be fucking hilarious.
Dude, what if we got a cult following and we had like merch? So you could buy like, dude, what if you could just buy like a t-shirt with my channel logo on it? And then you could buy one where it's like the Jason version is just the cross-eyed picture of you.
I I would. That's the only version of my face that'd be fun for a shirt. And dude, people that make like I don't know what it is, but like almost all YouTube merch is really shitty. Like the logos, the
Oh
fucking
yeah.
like it's all awful.
The only one I bought was like the Bro Science merch, which actually looks pretty good. I like the torpedo logo. I think it looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
Very few of them look decent, but like most of them are really, and they're like expensive too. It's like fuck,
It's expensive,
it's
man.
expensive, man.
Yeah,
Um,
dude, like I just love this part of the podcast where we just like we talk about everything related to the topic and then we go off and we build from there. But now we're just at the point where we're just talking, like I said,
I feel like it
Joey
just breaks
Diaz
the fourth
eating a
wall.
taco.
Like I don't know
Yeah, I
if people
know.
find
And
it
like
enjoyable to listen to us just fucking like, hey, remember we're doing this? Remember we're doing this? We're currently doing this? Like I don't know, but
yeah, and just saying random bullshit like I said, like Joey Diaz eating a taco listening to Cuban music. Like it's just it evokes that zoomer like just random lol humor.
I feel like if people made it this far, like what is it, 2 hours and 25
Kudos to
minutes,
you,
they wouldn't give
man,
a
if
shit. At
you're
this point, like
listening
all
to
right,
that.
fuck it, I'm already doing something else. Might as well listen to it.
But I mean, hey, we are trying to entertain you guys. So
Dude.
I,
People don't realize like it's like because like I don't think like in my head like I don't think about like oh I'm entertaining a group of audience like I just think I'm having a conversation with you. I don't know how many
right,
people
but
find it entertaining. Like there's some podcasts where it's like I'm not going to be like entertained. It's like relaxing to listen to people talk, or I like being informed about something. So like I like murder ones too. I love murder podcasts.
murder podcast.
Murder, yeah.
You like smoke casts?
Smokecasts.
Yeah,
The fuck are those?
it's like a drunk cast.
Oh no, I don't think I've ever seen this.
You never seen any Joe Rogan where he's done that? He does
No.
quite a few of them, I
Oh,
must say.
I don't like those. They're so fucking. They're too sporadic for me. I don't want to
Um,
focus on it.
Unless he does the one with Joey Diaz, that one was great. Because Joey Diaz is just such like a chill dude, and he could talk about. All of a sudden, his voice is just so soothing.
Yeah, he's got a very congested voice, but it's fun to listen to.
Yeah,
I feel like I do
yeah,
too. I have a slightly congested voice to me. It's more monotone than usual. I never
do I
realized how
have one?
monotone it was until I listened back on these. I was like, Jesus.
Dude, how's my voice? I think it's really bad. Well, okay, that's the thing is because like as human beings, we hate the sound of our own voices.
In some respect, I guess I don't hate the sound of my voice, but like, there's just like, I listen. I try to make the conscious effort. Like, okay, next one that I do, I'm really gonna like make it sound a lot smoother. But it just ends up just talking like this, and it's just like,
And then I'm just like, yeah, like, but, oh yeah, whoa, yeah. Do you know Red Letter Media?
no, I don't.
Oh my God, they are like, okay, so they're like the grandfathers of all like YouTube film slash TV critics. They made those reviews of the Star Wars prequels that are just still to this day fucking hilarious. But so they made this series. It's called Half in the Bag, and the intros they would just have like something different every time. It would just be like half in the bag. Get this shit off of my cabinet, or just be like
I have no
half in,
context. This all sounds like fucking bullshit to me, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
or it'd be like half in the bag.
Why
I
does he
don't
just
even
repeat it?
no, because that's the shit that stays the same. But then like they'd add something afterward. One would be like, I don't even know who I am anymore.
I don't even
Oh
know what's
no.
happening right now. Like I'm totally disconnected from what you're telling me right now.
Right, but so Red Letter Media, their humor is like it really resonates with me.
It does not
So
come
like,
off secondhand. I'm telling you, bro.
no, I'm sure it doesn't because like you need to actually watch it for it to be funny. Because I'm telling you,
Yeah,
dude,
I have no fucking clue what's happening right now.
Yeah, but do you think Filthy Frank is the same way? Where like
Yes.
explaining his stuff is like
It's not. I mean, what things are meant like are good like explaining secondhand. Like not many.
nothing exactly. That's why language is really hard secondhand because like trying to like how would I put this way? Like when you understand a language, like you understand it subconsciously. It's like when you laugh at a joke, you just naturally like you subconsciously get why it's funny. You don't have to have someone explain it to you why it's funny. That just kind of ruins it, you know?
Yeah, of course it's supposed to be natural. I hate
Yeah.
when people just like don't like it almost makes me feel like a dick because I've had friends and I've dated people and like I like that like dry like sarcastic British style of humor or like the
Yeah, I love
Canadian style like
deadpan.
Letterkenny and stuff like that and like every time I've like watched that with people it just like not that they don't get it but just like a lot of the like you have to understand a lot of references so it's like if you don't know the references none of it's going to be like remotely funny to you especially like
Yeah.
if it's like off the cuff like that. So it's like there's a lot of times where it's like people like ask me to explain like a reference or like why the joke was funny. It's just like I don't feel like doing that. Just we'll watch something else. It's fine.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I love deadpan comedy. I think it's so
Yeah,
funny. Like Phineas and Ferb has a lot of that.
yeah.
Where they were like, I remember, I don't remember what episode it was in. It was like, well, I think we all learned an important lesson today. Well, since we all know what it is, let's just stop waste time talking about it. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely liking more of that than the slapstick style.
Slapstick can be it can be done well. I think all kinds of humor can be done very well. But slapstick, it's like, it's easy to shit on that because I think it's easier to fuck that up.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I said, I think most of it is just I don't know. I mean, I think very comedies are not really creative these days, and it just I mean like with everything right it just you have to really look for it and more independently than not but I don't know I hate it's like with horror movies too it's just like I hate how everything has just been just watered down just on a superficial level it just bothers me
There's
so much.
no there's no sophistication, there's no wisdom. It's all kitsch.
Yeah, it's just like I don't watch like music or movies and shows to like laugh. Like I just like them because they're good shows. Like I really only laugh at like memes or just really stupid fucking videos on you. You know what I mean? Like my humor has been fucked by shit posting. It really has.
Yeah, I know. I remember just like the period where it was just ear rape, like just
Yeah,
like
like
all
I
that
that
stuff.
era
Yeah.
really fucking ruined my sense of humor because like it's just
Yeah, because like that made it so that like it needed to be like lol random stuff.
yeah like if I can't go out in public and hear boneless without laughing like it's a problem.
No.
Stupid fucking it's Roger. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
Um, I think this is a good place to end it. What about you?
Yeah, that's fine, man. I get to sleep in and wake up at 5 o'clock.
Good for you. I envy you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
All
don't
right.
envy you.
Well, yeah. No, it's okay. I understand why, because I'm Jewish.
Yeah. Ancestrally, I do not envy you.
Nope. You're like, I would have spun I would have done the slot machine again, see what I would have got instead.
Probably Palestinian.
Well, that's not an ethnicity.
Palestinian?
No, it's a nationality. Palestinians are just Arab.
Oh, that's right.
Like, whereas like Jewish is like an ethnicity. Well, for a while that was not a nationality because they didn't have a country.
I always forget there's specific criteria.
Yeah, I was thinking about making a video about that. Like
You
what
make
is
a
the
whole
difference?
conflict in the Middle East video.
No, 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 no,
Explain
no.
my
I'm
will.
not. I am not doing that. I was
Like today
thinking
we're gonna
about.
talk about divine birthright.
No. Will is not going to talk about that. So what I wanted to possibly do is making a video explaining the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality.
I think that'd be pretty spicy. Should give it a go.
Like, because I think people confuse them like a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, I obviously know like a lot of it is just like a construct, but there is like some science behind it. Same thing with like language and like what constitutes like what's the difference between a language, dialect, and accent. Like it is somewhat of a construct, but also like there is a science to it. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the line gets blurred, especially the more as people mingle, so that it just gets more
Yes, because
ambiguous
that's
as the years
why
goes on.
right, because that's why like it's hard to categorize like what is the ethnicity of like white Americans because like obviously it depends on where you are geographically, but also it's like um because like there's just been so much mingling and just assimilation between all of like these like European ethnicities. It's like what do you even categorize them as? You know?
I don't categorize as anything because you know what? I don't care anymore. You know why?
Because
Because
you know
people have too
what?
much pride,
Yep, that's part of it, but also you're German Mexican.
which I don't
That's
give two fucks.
Dude, it's like the peach pear commercial for the fucking Skittles. We're like, that's an unusual combination.
Or just reminds me, what was that one? I think it was Ancestry, where it's like we put away our kilts for lederhosen. It's like shut the fuck up. Oh, yeah, that's so cringe. I hate that so much. I hate this American need to like be something interesting from a different country. I can't stand it.
I mean, I don't mind it because I think the way that we dress up now is really ugly and boring. So I
Not
can
just from a
understand why.
clothes standpoint, just from like an identity standpoint.
Oh yeah, okay. Now that we talked about
Yeah,
in
fucking
extensive
jacked off
detail.
that horse to death. But anyway,
Yeah, but I mean, I guess some people like they legitimately they're just like can't help it. They're like, I'm just happy to be Irish and stuff like that, and I really like Irish stuff, and I have this connection to it, even of how far back it may be.
like,
you
shut up,
know,
drunkie. Go back to the bar and celebrate being white
and
one more time. I don't care.
Irish.
Don't give a fuck.
Yep. Well, good night.
Good morning.
Good morning. Bye.
Morning.